Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Why don't we go ahead and open? This is the July 28th meeting of Carlisle Select Board. We're going to open with our first item on the agenda, which is any community input. Do we have any community input either in the room or on the phone? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and move on to the second item on the agenda, which is to set the hours for early voting for the state primary and the state election. And for that, we're going to invite our town clerk, Ashley, up to the table.
Thank you very much. Town Clerk Ashley Cody, just bringing some routine business before you. I'm looking to set the early voting in-person hours for the September 1st primary and the November 3rd general election. The Secretary of the State requires in-person early voting for all state primaries and state elections. Typically, it's 1 week for state primaries, 2 weeks before the state election. But the hours and number of weekend days do vary based on community size, so they allow some flexibility. For our population, which is about 4,100 voters or so, what's required is at least 4 hours per weekend, 1 weekend day at least, and 25% or at least 2 hours per day of our normal business hours. So what I'm proposing is it more than satisfies those requirements. It's about 3 hours per day for the weekday business hours, and 1 4-hour weekend day. I'm recommending to limit it from full business hours just because typically the midterm elections and the primaries typically are not very highly attended, especially for the in-person early voting element. And this will be available in addition to vote by mail and full election day hours as well. Looking back at some of the previous elections, in 2024, our state primary week of early voting saw 20 in-person voters all week, so there's about 3 a day. The state election in 2022 is a little more active. That saw over the course of 12 days, 318 in-person early voters, which was about 26 per day. Still not, people banging down the door, but it's, more substantial than the primaries. So given the history of attendance, I think these hours would be appropriate to offer folks an opportunity to come and cast their ballot before the election day if they're going to be away or it's more convenient during these hours. And it does include 1 weekend day, which I think people will tend to, gravitate towards for convenience. And again, we do have vote by mail available for this election, both elections as well. So that's kind of the general background behind why the ask is to reduce the hours from full business hours. It's just looking at the previous attendance and also availability of poll workers as well.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I actually was going to ask about the staffing plan, but given the throngs of 20 to 26 people, maybe it's not. So, but what is the staffing plan? You say we do need to have some poll workers.
Typically, the requirement is at least 2 poll workers, one at check-in and one at check-out, just to ensure that there's adequate staff to assist voters if there's any questions, and also will be available as well, both myself and Melissa, to assist in-person early voters in addition to our 2 poll workers.
Okay.
This is consistent with what we've been doing?
Yes, I looked back at the last 4 years of the elections. Now, for the presidential years, we'll obviously want full hours for those elections, but typically it was 2 hours per day in the past for these types of elections, so I figured we'll just round it up a little bit to 3 and offer a little more availability while also kind of maintaining our staffing needs.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what is the cost of hosting an election like this? And is there any sort of state reimbursement that comes our way?
That's a great question. The state does offer reimbursement for what they call unfunded mandates. Okay. We fill out surveys that basically report our costs for these types of laws that do put a financial burden on our office and aren't otherwise supported by the state financially. Luckily for us, we're a pretty, small community, and we have a wonderful volunteer base. So mainly these costs are found in paying poll workers, but where we have volunteers, that is a significant cost that is not, incurred by our community. Other costs are pretty minimal, to be honest, because a lot of the equipment and the materials that are needed for early voting are also needed on election day, so we have them available, such as poll pads and things like that. So that's not a huge cost, and anything that is incurred is reimbursed by the state if it's not funded by the state already.
Okay.
So it's a funded, unfunded mandate.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a funded.
I wish we had more of those.
Yeah.
It was actually really great news when the state did say that they were going to reimburse for both vote by mail costs and in-person early voting costs, because the vote by mail is really actually where we see the biggest cost because of the postage. So we get that reimbursed now from the state, which is
Okay.
fantastic.
Not totally directly related, but I know there's been a lot in the news about, federal oversight of elections, and has Carlisle received any inquiries, or have any of the neighboring communities received any inquiries, or?
We haven't, and at the last Massachusetts Town Clerks Association conference, we had some officials touch on that a little bit, and basically they said if they get any type of indication that there's going to be either any type of oversight or involvement from at the federal level, that they would be in communication with us and give us guidance on how we handle that and manage that. But so far there hasn't been anything from the state that we've heard officially.
I'm guessing they have bigger targets than Carlisle.
I think so.
Right.
Yeah, I think we'll be flying under
But
the
you never
radar.
know.
But you never know. You got to be prepared.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you need a motion on this?
We do have
have it.
a motion.
So I move to approve the early in-person voting hours for the September 1st, 2026 state primary and November 3rd, 2026 state election as described in the memo prepared by Town Clerk Ashley Coate, dated June 30th, 2026.
I second that.
Okay. Let's see here. Where did we leave off? Okay, you guys, we have a motion, a second, and how about
Further discussion?
any further discussion? Thank you. Sorry, I blanked on.
It's all right.
Any further discussion? No? Okay. Why don't we go ahead and take a voice vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? No. Okay, ayes have it. Thank you very much,
you.
Ashley. Appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you to the volunteers and the staff who will make this happen, and I'm sure it will go smoothly as always. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We have a wonderful volunteer base that we're very grateful for. So,
We're very fortunate.
and I'll be actually sticking around for the next item.
Ah.
Okay.
All right.
Item 3 on the agenda is to approve technically that was in the motion, yes? Approve
New
Nope,
motion.
Different motion.
the state primary warrant. Oh,
Mm. So yeah,
Okay.
similar. While we're on the primary, I figured we would go ahead and take care of the warrant. The warrant is required for any type of election. It serves as a notice to the voters in town about what is being voted on, where it's being voted at, and what hours the voting is taking place. So this is the warrant for the state primary that delineates all of the offices that are up for election, the hours and the place of voting.
okay.
And then after this is approved and signed by the select board, it's posted by the constable in accordance with our bylaws.
Okay. What questions do we have for Ashley on this?
Any Carlisle specific items are outside of this, correct?
This is, no, the most local it gets is the Middlesex County Register of Probate, but yeah, everything else is either district or statewide, so nothing Carlisle specific for this warrant.
But we could have items on the ballot.
For the general election?
Yes.
That's correct.
Not for the primary, correct?
Right, not for the
Okay.
primary. They only allow that for the general election if there's going to be any type of questions or
Okay.
things like that.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. So I'll go ahead and move to approve the warrant for the state primary scheduled for Tuesday, September 1st, 2026, from 7 to 8 p.m. in the Clark Room of Town Hall, as presented in the packet.
I second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion or deliberation? Let's do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, the ayes have it. And thank you very much, Ashley. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4 on the agenda is
Sorry.
appointments. Yeah, no worries. We have many appointments tonight. Okay, for the,
So what tends to happen here, and this is no judgment, is we go through the appointing process,
yes?
and then people may or may not have realized that their terms were up, and then they go to meet, and then there might be some issues. So this is kind of the second round of appointments going on here, and/or filling slots that we've been advertising for people to come and fill. So that's why there's a lot.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm glad to have the, again, strong volunteer base. Is there any way to automate that, like Gretchen and whoever would get a ping when, you know, there's an email reminder notice when someone's term is up? Because I can see how that would slip by all the time. No one's checking the website every day, or, you know.
We do remind folks, it's not the first thing on their mind that their term
No,
may be a
that's what I'm
year or
saying. It's
3
not
years.
First thing on anyone's mind, yeah.
They're not necessarily looking for it, but we do remind them.
Right.
And then we remind them again, and then they end up on your appointment list in August.
Yes, okay, so,
And they're not in a rush to be reappointed in a lot of
Correct.
cases.
no, because they're just continuing on, right?
Try to be very kind.
Or-
We understand this is unpaid volunteerism, so.
Right.
They're looking for
Okay,
it.
so we have a number of motions on that. And we can just read them all at once and then do one vote at the end. Is that fine, Ryan?
I would do them as they come, because when we get to the safety committee, we need to talk about that one.
Okay, we'll do them each individually. Okay, so can I have some motions to appoint people?
Yeah, I'll move to appoint Sarah Wengert of Page Brook Road to the Recreation Commission with a term to end June 30, 2029.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any no votes? No. Okay, the ayes have it.
The next slate is the Community Preservation Committee. A lot of these are recommendations from other boards because of the makeup of the CPC. So once they were all appointed, now we're doing another round of appointments.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and move to appoint Chrissy O'Shea as the Historical Commission representative to the Community Preservation Committee with a term to end June 30, 2027.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you.
Move to appoint Sylvia Willard as the Conservation Commission representative to the Community Preservation Committee with a term to end June 30, 2027.
Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay. And,
Well,
yeah.
the last one ends, is that 2027 as well? Should the motion read? It says 2026.
It should, 2027.
These are all one-year terms?
Yes, because it's CPC.
Gotcha. Move to appoint Sarah Wengert as the Recreation Commission representative to the Community Preservation Committee with a term to end June 30, 2027.
Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay.
Maybe Ryan will tell us about it.
On to the Safety Committee.
Yes, so there's a few things about the Safety Committee. Safety Committee does an excellent job. It's a lot of work. There's a lot involved in your Safety Committee, especially getting up and running and doing the work that they're doing, mainly traffic, speed, which you know about, and then the Connected Carlisle Sidewalk project. So they have a difficulty getting a quorum, just one of the things that many of the boards suffer from. And one of their members, Valerie, who does a large amount of work for them, didn't realize that her one-year term had expired and thought she was just continuing to serve. It's one of the reasons why they had difficulty getting quorum, because we weren't able to put her in front of you for appointment. In the meantime, we also had Ruben Klickstein come in. He is one of your traffic folks out there. Probably seen him. He has an interest in safety, and you only have one slot for the safety committee. So you have a choice between Valerie and Ruben. The safety committee has not been able to meet, so they have not made a recommendation on this. But there is no reason not to see Valerie as a valid candidate, considering she's involved in a lot of the work. So that is the assumption, is that she would continue.
Great. Once again, so pleased to have the wealth of qualified talent volunteering their time. That's great. Very lucky to have that. Yeah, in the interest of continuity, you know, I'm happy to hear all points of view here, but I'd say, you know, let's continue on with Valerie if she's been already in the role and doing a great job. Does anyone have any other comments on that?
Is there something else that, if Ruben, I mean, there's some open positions, does anyone reach out and see if he might be interested in something else, or is this the only thing?
We will, and he has a passion for it, and we're going to recommend, because safety committee may lose some members, that he served kind of de facto without a vote on that committee, helping them for a while, and then when there's an opening, to apply to.
Yeah. In the meantime, Dave, your safety committee liaison, maybe reach out and encourage him to come before the safety committee, and I'm sure he maintains an informed point of view. He probably raised his hand because he wanted to impart that. Maybe they can hear him out and you know, benefit from all his good ideas.
Sounds good.
And is there a role in any of I know he was involved in the original Complete Street. Is that a separate, as that ramps up some of that work, is there going to be some volunteer roles needed, or no?
That right now is being done by your safety committee.
Okay. Okay. I mean, he's just got a lot of experience with
Yeah.
the things that we care about, so it'd be great to get the benefit of his, of that experience.
Yeah.
But, you know, I typically, if the safety committee, if Valerie has done a good job with that, typically we'd want to encourage the continuity. But yeah, let's get him involved.
There's no associate members on that committee, correct?
No.
Yeah.
No, but, you know, it's like one of these things that people are always welcome. They're all public meetings. People are welcome to attend, welcome to have as much input as anyone else. You just don't vote at the end of the day. But typically, you can make a lot of contributions. So I would encourage him to get involved, at least in the agenda items that relate to the things he's passionate about.
Yeah. For sure. Okay. Why don't we? Oh,
So you want to make a motion?
Oh, yeah, sorry, so Valerie, okay. Move to appoint Valerie Thaddeus to the Safety Committee with a term to end June 30, 2029, correct? Okay.
Second.
thank you. Okay, let's do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay.
We locked her up for a 3-year term. That's good.
And
Speaking
that's
of
a
contracts.
5-person committee? Or is it 7?
It might be even bigger.
7.
It's 7, yeah.
I mean, again, if they have a problem reaching a quorum, it's good to know that there's someone out there with interest, so.
Yeah.
So one more thing on the safety committee, the ESC nominated Eric to serve as your ESC representative to that safety committee. We were going back and forth, mainly when I say we, me, on that being an automatic appointment, but it's not. It has to go through you, and we assume that it did. So if you could also appoint the ESC rep Eric tonight, that would be helpful for their quorum. So it's not in your packet, but it is an ESC slot, assuming you want that to continue.
Same motion, but for Eric Ballas?
Yes.
And the term ending
That one should be a 1-year term for now.
your term?
I move to appoint Eric Ballas to the Safety Committee with a term to end June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Thank you.
You're willing?
You're
It's always good to
resident.
check,
Yeah.
You're resident.
especially when they're in the room.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, ayes have it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Safety committee's fully armed, and ready to go.
Don't use those words.
Okay, the next item on the.
Baseball arms.
Yes.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is the item 5, employee health insurance opt-out stipend.
Sure. Hi, everybody.
Hello, Aubrey.
Those online, I'm Aubrey Thomas, the Assistant Town Administrator and HR Director. So this came up because we were doing our annual stipends for different employees, and this stipend came up. And upon research, we found that it had become past practice for a couple employees. One of them has since left since last year, but one employee has continued to receive this stipend annually. Upon further research, it doesn't look like it was formally terminated, this program, but we do not support that. We do not give this opt-out stipend to anybody else. It looks like when the town switched to Maya insurance is when that ended. The form did state that when the program ended, employees would no longer receive the stipend, but because this employee has continued to get this, I do recommend, just as HR, to continue honoring that past practice for only this employee until either they leave or join our insurance.
Anyone have any questions on this topic?
I mean, we used to do this. This was, I know, this is back when I was on FinCom, I think this was implemented with the hopes that it would both benefit the employees and also reduce cost to the town. And I don't think it really, there's a larger question of should we try this again? What's typical though? Like typically if you terminate a program, it's odd to give it to one employee. I mean, I understand there's extenuating circumstances, but
I'm not entirely sure the full history of why only these two employees continue to receive that when clearly they're not the only two employees who opted out since 2018.
Right.
It's hard to find that trail of where that came from.
Right. Do you think it was an error or do you think there was an agreement?
So I did reach out to the employee in case they had something that I didn't have in our files, and they said they just assumed that they continued to receive it. They were very apologetic, and I assured them that they didn't do anything wrong.
They didn't do it.
And so, yeah, there was no agreement that I could confirm as to why they still have that. I do think it was probably an error. They just received the annual stipend. And
Is that through
now-
payroll?
Yes, and so I was tasked by our town accountant to create a memo to explain why this person's getting a stipend, and this is
Oh, okay.
how this surfaced is when I investigated, because I won't write a memo without actual facts to back it up, right? And so when I dug into it, and I said I cannot authorize this. This isn't my call. So that's why it's brought it to you now.
So this was flagged in payroll as a unknown stipend, right? Is that what, just to understand process-wise, because it also raises questions, is there more of this out there? But
No, I mean
not this, but I
other
could
stipends. I would say Kelly has been very
Yeah.
thorough, and I think this is one of the very few that has, I guess, stragglers. I would call it, because she is fully vetting
Yeah.
everything. Everything needs backup, as you've seen. We have a lot. She's strengthened the financial policies, her and Sandy. So I think this is just one of the few things that, because it only happens annually, it took the year to hit it and say,
Okay.
hold up, where
But
is
it's
this
just in
coming
the
from?
system it doesn't say like healthcare stipend. Chief Sorrows has a comment back there.
I was just gonna say that when I started,
I think you
I was
chance
told-
Kayla.
I was telling you that the
Yeah.
chair can recognize you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, when I started, I was told that people had been grandfathered,
Mhm.
but I opted out and was not given the stipend. I said, because that policy ended, that there were people who were grandfathered in, but since I was starting later, I was not gonna get it. So it
Okay.
was acknowledged that it existed when I started, just.
Okay, that is
Yeah.
helpful, that it was at least verbally acknowledged it was grandfathered, so that's great. But yeah, there's just one person, at this point. So there would be no additional,
Yeah,
stipends.
so we're looking at everything, as you know. We're looking into your accounts, to your policies, just to make sure we're implementing best. And one of the things we've been doing is implementing HR practice. One of the legacy inheritances that we received was Excel spreadsheet accruals, right? We fixed that with the implementation of Bamboo. Bamboo HR. And then as we went through each one of the payments and we were starting to do the processing, we identified things like this. And we dig into a lot of them, and a lot of them just go away and you never see them. But in this particular instance, this is a union employee. This was past practice, and it was missed. So the way we're recommending to you, the way we feel about it is this no longer will happen. It no longer exists, and we've documented it, but we have these legacy issues that we have to deal with.
And it's just this one.
I mean, we're gonna keep
Right.
digging.
No.
The alternative is
No,
to not
trust me.
look.
If
Right,
we vetted every single one that are, that were due 6:30, and this was the one that, there was no documentation to support it.
Okay.
It's not like there's a ton of these things out there,
No.
but, people receive accruals that, part-time employees that wouldn't necessarily, or they're getting some mileage, and we look at it, and we dig into it, and we figure out why, and it turns out, there was a memo from 20 years ago where this stuff was done. So we're trying to make sure all of that is in the system, documented, that we look at each one each year so that we at least know what all the things are, and we can pass that from HR director to HR director. And we're almost done. And we don't think there's anything big out there that you have to worry about.
Okay.
It's worth looking at the practice, though. And again, I know it wasn't successful, but it has been used successfully in different scenarios, the opt-out stipend. So it may not make sense, but I would keep an open mind about bringing that back in some form or fashion in the future if we think there might be a benefit to everyone.
Mhm.
Is that why it was phased out? Because
I don't know.
someone made a call that just wasn't economically viable, or is it just more
I
arbitrary?
don't know why it was phased out. I don't think it had a lot of uptake. I don't know. I remember the decision being made to put it in. I don't remember why it was phased out. I don't think there was a huge, it was probably more trouble than it was worth, would be my guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, anecdotally, our insurance is expensive enough for if you're on it because you have to be.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think that incentive is going to allow a lot of people to opt out.
Right.
It wouldn't equalize what you can get in a private sector.
And I would say just internally, that is my experience. Folks
Yeah.
who join our insurance, that's their only choice. So there's an argument that folks who can afford to get that stipend get this extra bonus because they have the opportunity to get it elsewhere.
Fair
Because
enough.
it's more difficult for folks to even join Mass Health now too. So a lot of folks are being forced to join our insurance because they can't get it elsewhere anymore.
Aubrey's putting together an insurance advisory committee, which is a formal investigation of insurance practices with a wide range of stakeholders in the town to talk about plan and other changes that we might consider or bring to you. It's complicated, there's unions involved, et cetera, but this might be a topic that's looked
And
at.
it's a statutory committee, it's not subject to OML, but what the committee will be doing is later this fall, presenting recommendations to the select board about plan changes. There are, budget impacts to those, but just looking what options there are to, for employees
Okay.
and retirees, actually.
Okay. Are we ready for a vote on this then?
Sure.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Want me to do it? I move to approve the continuation of the $1,500 annual health insurance opt-out stipend for the current legacy recipient who has historically received the stipend until such time as the employee separates from town employment or enrolls in town health insurance, and to confirm that this action does not reinstate or establish a town-wide health insurance opt-out stipend program.
Second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or deliberation? No? Okay, why don't we do a voice vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, ayes have it. So moved. Okay.
Thanks for bringing it up, though. I mean, I know as we find these things, it's good to fix them and move on,
Absolutely, thank you.
as opposed to.
No, that's not, we don't do that.
No, I know.
Okay, we are running a few minutes early, but why don't we go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is an employee conflict of interest disclosure. And we have some potential votes there. Do we have Gretchen on the phone?
No, I'm going to present it for.
Oh, okay, excellent, okay.
I'll set both of these up for you, and then we can have a discussion. So we'll take them one at a time. First, there are no conflicts of interest. This is a discussion of the disclosure for the potential of conflict of interest, in case people are reading just the headline, right? We want to make sure that's clear. So Gretchen is currently teaching weekly tap and jazz classes for adults through the Council on Aging and Human Services. This was approved in December by the board, another conflict of interest. She wants to teach musical theater prep and was approached by Holly to do this. Holly wants to offer this class, and Gretchen seemed a natural fit because of talent she has outside of her current position. It's not currently an option, so Recreation is looking to add this option. And it is because of the success of the TAP classes and other classes that run here at Town Hall and in other areas. In order for this to happen, the board has to consider this disclosure as a conflict of interest because Gretchen is paid by multiple departments in town. And anytime that comes into play, the board must approve this conflict of interest form identifying it. There are reasons and scenarios where an employee would have a conflict of interest. In this particular area, it is not. It's two completely separate departments, but we have to tell you anyways, and you have to be notified in case it does eventually become a conflict of interest, which we will protect it and not have that happen, but it can. So you need to know about it so you can monitor it.
I mean, the conflict would be is if she created the position herself and then sort of self-nominated and there was no, and then she is also, is she teaching on her own time? I
Yes.
assume all this is not during work hours, and then I assume the compensation is comparable to whatever she would be, somebody would be earning in this position, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Uninflated. And then she's not out there trying to get everyone who walks into town hall to sign up for her class, right? I mean, that would be
It's not allowed.
she's not marketing her, yeah, those would be the conflicts that I could possibly spot, but I assume those aren't happening. Okay.
Yeah, you were on the right track there. If she was the one who created this program and then decided to fund it or recommended that it be funded, then there's conflicts. You can't gain from your position in town, but that's been vetted here and is not happening. So we're notifying you of this so you can do your due diligence on it.
And this is for a fixed period of time. There's a theater performance at some point in the future, and then at that point, her engagement will end, or it just goes on.
This conflict would allow her to do this until that program is no longer offered or it changed in a way that would create a different conflict.
Okay.
So the rec department does, they'll do a 6-week thing and then they'll turn over and have a break, for a month, and then do another. This would continue for that whole, 2 of those or 3, however many they make,
Yes.
right?
Yep. But as you can see, TAP is different than musical theater, so we're bringing you another form. So we're being overly thorough to protect you and the employee,
Okay.
as is required by law.
What other questions do people have?
We approved it before, and I don't see a problem with it now.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard any complaints.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and vote on it?
Sure.
Okay. Can we have a motion on this?
Oh, jeez, okay. Let's see. Having received you have to say I move anywhere in this? Oh, there it is, at the end. Having received a disclosure under General Law, Chapter 268A, is that thing a subsection? Section 20D, from a special municipal employee who seeks to have a financial interest in a contract made by a municipal agency of this town, and understanding that the special municipal employee participates in or has official responsibility for activities of the municipal agency that made the contract, semicolon, I move to approve this exemption under Section 20D regarding the financial interest identified by the special municipal employee.
Second.
I think that's what we're trying to do here.
Do you need to mention the employee or not? That's the only thing in the motion, just so it's clear. It's not mentioned in
It's true.
there.
Might matter to say what the title is at least, because it's the title that you're making a special and municipal employee rather than employee themselves, if that makes sense.
I would just add Gretchen Gallimore to the end, identified by special municipal employee Gretchen Gallimore.
Or that.
You wanna make that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna amend my motion to, I move to approve this exemption under Chapter 20D regarding the financial interest identified by the municipal employee Gretchen Gallimore.
I second that motion.
Thank you very much.
And the amended motion.
And the amendment, yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, the ayes have it. That was one of those where the motion is longer than the actual deliberation.
I need a little cheat sheet on all the different symbols and chapter,
Oh, I know.
subsection,
Yeah.
all
How to
those.
pronounce this.
I don't have that training.
Is that
Just
Travis?
nothing.
Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is same topic for Chief Sorrows.
Yes, and Chief Soros is here, and I invite him to come up and talk to us. But Chief Soros would like to hire an immediate family member, his daughter Elizabeth, as an EMT for the fire department. She has the qualifications and training to perform the job. Chief Soros confirmed that Fire Chief Matt Zvatek will be Elizabeth's direct supervisor. The board must review the included disclosure of conflict of interest because the chief is making a decision that results in a financial interest for an immediate family member, which is the way it's written in the law. Under the conflict of interest, Mass General Law 268A, enriching immediate family is conflict that could affect the integrity of the services which the town may expect of the employee. The board's role is to determine if the financial interest is substantial or likely to affect services for the town. And we did consult with counsel, and assuming that all that was just described in the background and in the motion is there, and there are no conflicts identified, then this is allowed and has been done in other towns, but it is ultimately the select board's decision to sign this disclosure or not.
Has it been done in our town too?
And it has been done in our town. The chief has 2 daughters. So the last time the form wasn't signed, but the chief did bring this to the select board and it was deliberated in the past. So both were identified, even though we didn't go through the formality of this form, which I think and Aubrey thinks is very important for the protection of the chief and the board and the discussion about it.
But before we get into the specific request, can I ask a procedural/HR question?
Sure.
Because we do have in our HR policies the language that town employees are prohibited from hiring, promoting, supervising, or otherwise participating in the employment of their immediate family or their spouse's immediate family. So my question is not for this particular case, but in general, if we do this or if we've done this, I want to make sure that we're in line with our policies. And if we're not in line with our policies, do we need to amend our policy if we want to do this?
So I'm not going to speak for the chief, and Aubrey can weigh here as well, but under the strong chief law, the execution of HR policy in the fire department is under the purview of the fire chief. So we have the strong chief law. So we have been working about how to mesh the town policies with the fire policies because they don't always agree. And under the strong chief law, in most cases, the fire department policies would prevail. But
But
of course, that's a
I could
broader-
also envision other parts of town where it may make sense to have a family member or somebody in some professional relationship. And is it my understanding under our policy that's just not a possibility?
Yeah, it does, I mean, this was before I updated, but it does state, prohibited from that hiring, promoting, supervising, or otherwise participating. That is a select board decision if that's something you'd want to change. My understanding is that that's not really the case in other departments. I
Right.
think it's probably more common with a fire department because it is local, you want somebody in proximity. And I'm just speaking on HR terms, objectively, she would be qualified in this position, and it is an on-call department. It's not like it's taking place of somebody else who would have otherwise been hired.
And I'm just trying to keep this
Sure.
at a general level because
Absolutely.
it's
This isn't the only HR policy that we don't,
Right.
that you have that we don't follow.
And I'm asking for the town side.
I'm just,
Oh,
It's
so
separate.
Should
we.
we air those too?
I'm just saying, we have our hiring policies, we don't post things on their wall that you say
Right.
you would do, all those kinds of things,
Right.
because I'm the hiring authority for the fire department. Just, it's
Right.
different.
Right.
I just think it's worth us, I know I don't know when this, I'm losing track of all the policies.
Sure.
We spent a lot of time on volunteers. But it's and it might be a case-by-case thing, but I don't want to get in a situation where, for town employees, that we're doing a case-by-case.
Right.
If we think we want to allow something like this in the future under our codes of conduct, we should put that allowance in the policy and have a, majority vote of the board, a waiver can be offered or something.
And you'll be seeing me soon for the next version of the personnel policies, right?
Okay.
Making sure
So-
there's an annual review and update going forward. So I think that's definitely something I can add and bring up when I do those revisions.
Okay.
In this particular instance, the document that Scott's talking about, we just approved 8
No, that-
weeks ago.
That was the volunteer
That's the
one.
Code of conduct.
For the volunteers, not for staff.
No, I thought it was all employees and volunteers. We went round and round, like 3 revisions on this thing, and then finally approved it. And
There was the volunteer code of conduct, but the personnel policies were approved in May.
It was right before that then.
Yeah, so,
it was just-
but that, the review process starts now, because that's what we did last year too. It took a year to finally get that
Yeah, it
approved May
was a lengthy
26th.
process, yeah.
So that's why you'll still see me soon, even though it takes that long.
Right, okay.
But it is something to think about in terms of the
Yeah.
policy, because public safety, this is pretty common.
Yeah.
Right.
So it may happen there, the other place it may happen for you is the DPW. So Gary Davis worked under his father and took over after his father.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's, if you need somebody who can drive heavy equipment, and, that could happen in that situation as well.
And the schools have their own code of
Their own
Code of conduct.
handbook, correct.
So
It's
the,
interesting. Okay.
I'm looking at an excerpt from the Section 10 Standards of Conduct that we just approved. That was the Code of Conduct. And the wording is, town employees are prohibited from. So it's not volunteers, it really is employees.
No, we approved the volunteer code of conduct.
Yeah, section 10, that wasn't updated
That wasn't part of the
Oh.
update.
in this
Okay.
version.
Well,
Our whole thing
nonetheless,
was
it's
for the
still,
not the employees, but the volunteers, to put a code of conduct in place.
right, okay, so I'm looking at a document that maybe is older than 8 weeks.
This.
Yeah, most of the personnel policies were
Nonetheless,
actually not updated.
You know, I really wanted to get to the conflict of interest. The chief is here, so let's, you employed one daughter before. Were there ever any complaints or any
No.
deterioration to morale?
No, I'll be honest with you, it takes one time they come and they complain about something, you say, did you talk to your commanding officer? No. And why are you talking to me? That's the last time it comes. The last time you hear it, and the same, in either direction. Because there's multiple lines of, she has an EMS coordinator, and then she has a deputy chief.
Mm-hmm.
Either one of them, and up the chain before it gets to me, and it's easy to fix, right? You just say it one time, and that's the last
Right.
time you hear it.
Right. It's a small department, it's a small town.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want morale to take a hit because of this. If the EMS coordinator or their deputy, or your deputy officer were to come to you and say, we've got a problem, how would you handle it?
Typically, I would have them handle it,
Just-
and whatever their decision
You're
is.
at arm's length the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I may have a suggestion about how we handle things like that, or who to go to, or if they have, whatever, those kinds of things. So some counseling of them in terms of that, but no, they can make decisions. They do.
Is there shift work or it's on call, so you just kind of put out the call or?
Yes, well, so it's actually quite interesting the way we organize. I don't know anybody else who does it, but we know who's available,
Mhm.
and we know what's needed for the call, so we choose who goes on that call based on who's available. And yes, it happens based on timing and shift, and we also choose the officer on the call based on those criteria.
Mhm.
I have myself listed as, for all the time periods, I only go when there's no other officer available, and I do go.
Mhm.
And so there can be times we'd be on a call and I'd be the commanding officer for that call. That can't happen. But I have it, basically the goal is to be training up all new officers, and I want them to be getting as many calls as they can. So actually, if any of them are available, they're the ones who are commanding a call before me.
Okay. But would there be a potential, even the impression of favoritism in someone being delegated a plum assignment, or, you know, it just sounds like, I
No,
mean,
there's
it's
a,
on
co-
call,
there's a
you raise your
computer
hand, you're
algorithm that
available.
handles it based on what company you are in and what time of the day it is. And I have very little to do with that. We do within EMS, we do rotate around, you know, who's driving, who's leading the call, and who's riding, and that rotates.
Mhm.
And it's not as in stone how that rotates. You look at each other and say, oh, you led the last time, so why don't I lead this time, or whatever. But that really is handled within the crew and not really by the officer, is that they look at each other and make sure that they're mixing it up.
Okay.
While I understand a family member is different in instances where the chief needed support, he has reached out and worked with Aubrey in order to solve issues, and myself. We've worked together on difficult HR issues because they exist even in the fire department. And if there was an employee who came to Aubrey or I because of the relationship or difficulty, we would bring that to you immediately.
Okay.
And I would tell the chief as well we were doing so, because that's how I operate, but I'm not afraid to bring that to you if there is a situation.
I mean, this situation is you have somebody who's in town, lives in town, is fully qualified, and her timing tends to be when we really need people, and she's a school teacher. So she really has summers and holidays.
Right,
You know, is when
right.
she's really, and that's when everybody else leaves and we're sitting here, how do we staff this?
Yeah.
So, you know.
I'm not, I guess I myself personally am not as concerned about how she got the job. I get it, she's qualified, that's, you know, that checks the box. It's from here on forward, how do we avoid the, you know, even the impression of favoritism in scheduling, promotions, overtime assignments, whatever the issues may be within the fire department. And that's all I want to protect against.
Mhm.
So that's, I don't know, you run a tight ship, I'm sure, so.
Well, if I decide to promote her to lieutenant, which is not really a possibility, then I would be back here.
Okay.
Because that would be a different world.
How about the rest of the board members?
I'm supportive of it.
I'm supportive, and I'd put a little sticky note next to that policy, just to just have the discussion, are there other areas of town this might be an issue that we should look at the policy about?
I know we don't have time, but it's helpful because it's the only time when 5 of us are together.
Yeah.
But if we, as a board, think that that's, you know, acceptable, we should talk about it at some point, or if not right now, just to kind of gauge a sense of what you think.
I mean, to me, it's having like in this case, we're making a motion to approve a particular legal thing, but if in the future we think we might want to allow for something outside of the hard and fast policy word, which in our policy for town employees is very strict, we should probably at least put a process by which we could do that. And maybe that's just inherent with the policy, but I don't know, maybe it doesn't come up, maybe it's not an
I mean,
issue.
I will say that people in the town have been just very supportive of the fact that my daughter, I mean,
Yeah.
no, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, it's the culture that they want in the town.
Right.
So in that case, you may need to think about that in other cases where if it supports the culture you want in your town, that you might need to look at that.
I was just gonna ask, like, if there was some reason that we needed to vary from an existing policy anyway, wouldn't you bring that to us? And we'd have that discussion regardless, so isn't that inherent, even if we haven't said it outright?
Well, but if the standard is we don't allow it, then generally people wouldn't apply, or they just say, oh, it's not even a
Yeah.
thing. It's more if
Might be a deterrent.
if it became, I mean, that's why I was asking more of a policy question for
Yeah.
the board, just to say, is this something that in our policies as a board we might think, and, you know, maybe we want to change the direction of that.
Well, and my thinking is not even to change the policy, but just, you could even just put something to say, like, waivers may be considered on a case-by-case basis and require a majority or supermajority approval of the select board. Something like that, so people say, oh, generally this isn't done, but in cases where it makes sense, the town's open to it. But, again, I'm guessing this doesn't come up too often. But right now, our policy for town employees is, and I respect the difference there, but if we're talking about a town employee, I don't even think they would get through the application process. Anyway.
They would not.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a
I'd be happy to.
motion on this one?
I'll move it. Having reviewed the particular matter and the financial interest of Fire Chief Brian Soros hiring Elizabeth Soros, his daughter, I move to determine that the financial interest is not so substantial as to be deemed likely to affect the integrity of the services which the town may expect from Chief Soros.
Second.
Any discussion or deliberation? No? Okay, why don't we go ahead and do a voice vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? No. Okay, so the ayes have it. Thank you very much. And again, it was never the financial interest, it was all about what is this, let's make sure we
If
maintain.
you saw how little we
morale.
get paid, you wouldn't.
Exactly. That's funny. Okay, yeah, I just was mainly concerned about here on forward.
Yep,
Thanks, Chief.
thanks.
Yeah, thanks for.
Are you staying for the next discussion?
Yes.
Okay. You don't need to be up
That
front.
was Mark's second.
Okay. Okay. Item number 7 on our agenda tonight. We're running just a few moments early, but why don't we go ahead and move on to the Fire Department Building Committee update? Yes.
Greg Follis, 105 Mill Farm Road. Greg Zerlo, my co-chair, is going to be signing on any minute. And
Oh,
so,
okay. We can handle something else.
So
Okay.
I am not as well prepared to, I could in a pinch, but he would be signing on briefly
Sure.
Yep.
in communication with me.
Okay, what do we have that will just take a few moments? Review of warrants and minutes?
Sure.
Is that good?
Yeah. You want to do the minutes?
Let me,
Who's spelling my name?
We're all trying.
AI bot.
it's like there's too many vowels in there. I gotta look it up every time. Okay,
It is PDF 102.
thank you.
I'll write that down.
Thank you.
Just
Okay,
put
review.
the, just take her little name tag and just stick it on
Is
Gretchen's
this right?
desk facing Gretchen. Above the computer.
It's the KAH. That was, I think the last name was okay. It was Rebecca. That was not.
Okay.
Okay, we have
Just let myself
fast
know.
forwarded to item number 12, review of the warrants and the minutes. Looking at the July 14th, 2026 minutes. Did everyone have a chance to review those?
I did. I had one thing I just wanted to note on them.
Okay.
And that's in the minutes, we're, I think, maybe Ryan can chime in, but we're using AI to kind of do this, and then we review them internally. Oh, sorry. However they are done, I think the town is trying, and
Yeah.
is getting, and I just wanted to point out in the process, just so that we get these, I think, in a position that I would feel more comfortable. There's one that said in here just above procurement path, municipal versus developer-led. It said, "The board leans strongly toward maintaining the more controlled municipal project path." And I don't know, I thought that was a subjective, the board leaning, we didn't have a vote on it, and I just think that the minutes, I'd prefer to have, it is nice to
Just
have
the
all this
facts.
context, but just the facts.
Yeah.
And then when there's a vote, the vote, rather
Yep.
than the subjective, because that gets thrown in here, and we'll agree that these are our minutes going forward, and if anyone ever goes back, they'll say, well. the
You were
board-
leaning
you-
heavily.
yeah, well, I
Strongly
just-
leaning.
I'd like to try and ask our town or the people doing the minutes to take those, to look for those and try and
Right.
take those out.
Any sort of subjectivity, just.
Subjectivity.
Well, it's a municipal AI product, too.
Is it? Yeah.
So, I mean, you'd think any public body that's using this to do minutes would want, that's a pretty good feature, like take the AI subjective language out.
Right.
But yeah,
That's why I pointed it out.
Yep.
So it's just a note to the
do you want to strike,
staff and also.
take out all, was it verbs or adverbs or?
Okay, that was it. But
Okay.
otherwise, I'm actually fine with that, and
Okay.
unless we want to take out that, that sentence, but.
Well, I would move to
mean,
strike the sentence, because I do feel like it is subjective.
Which page was that, Travis?
Yeah.
On those minutes, it is page 5 of 11.
Okay.
Said the board leans strongly toward maintaining the more
Yeah.
controlled municipal project path with select board
Yeah.
I mean, you could just say select board member
Triola
Triola noted.
noted
I mean,
decrees.
that's, you know, what he did, but not what collectively, I don't think that's
Yeah,
appropriate to.
that's right.
So that was my comment.
So strike that.
Okay. Any other comments or edits to the minutes? Nope. Okay, can we get a motion around that?
What's
You gotta find it, or you gonna find it?
We are on page 102.
Move to approve the minutes of the July 14th, 2026 Select Board meeting as presented in the packet, or, sorry, or as amended in this meeting.
I second that.
Thank you. Let's do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay.
And I want to say, I appreciate the minutes. I think
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
always
yeah.
a process. and-
Yeah.
There is an art and a science to it, for sure. Okay, item number 12 is done. Eric, are we on board? No.
Greg is logging on just now.
Okay,
He's joining us right now.
great.
Can I, since we're on minutes, there were a couple committees I went to get caught up on, and there's not like minutes posted for the last year, so I'm not gonna call them out, but we do need to like push, I know we are, but I don't know if there's a, for committees that haven't posted minutes, and some of these are,
I'm guilty of that.
yeah, but we gotta find a way to get there with that, because there are some contentious issues, and it's tough, because like I'm trying to get caught up on stuff, and there's nothing, so the more we can encourage committees to get minutes up, the better. I don't know, like free lollipops or something.
Yeah.
We're about 6 behind on
Which one, DPW?
W facilities.
Yeah.
But August 5th, hopefully, we're going to get.
Yeah.
Do we want to do a quick liaison reports? Or are we
Greg is on.
Okay.
on? Okay.
Good to go.
Very good. Okay. Excellent. Okay, why don't we hear Fire Department Building Committee update?
So again, Eric Ballas, 105 Knoll Farm Road, co-chair of the Fire Station Building Renovation Committee.
And Brian Sars, Fire Chief.
And online, we have Greg Zerlo, who is the co-chair, the other co-chair. And it's all yours, Greg.
Very good. Good evening.
Yep.
So I guess this is really our inaugural committee update as we step into the construction phase. We're almost in the construction phase. We're all getting ready. So I'm going to give a high-level overview of where we are and just kind of set the stage for actually future reporting, ask of the select board what you might need more from us in the future, et cetera. But let me just touch on a general project update. Next slide. I like to always remind us where we're heading, which is building that. That's our site plan. Next slide. Our front elevation. We've all seen this. This was the last rendering that was issued out of the planning board hearing. So what I'll touch on next slide is just our overall. What do I want to run through tonight? General project status, budget status, an upcoming decision or input from the board that we would like, and just talk briefly about future reporting and wrap up. It should take about 10 minutes. Next slide. So on project status, so contracts with design team, our OPM, and contractor have all been signed. fully executed. Permit drawings were issued early last week, I believe, or last week to the town. We're assuming a 4-week total turnaround. The only significant item not included in this permit set, we're playing a little bit of catch up, is the wetlands delineation, the expanded survey to address the well location that finally got resolved through the hearings and the town input and input from the DEP. The design team is playing catch up and issuing those drawings. We expect those drawings to be issued August 18th, which coincides roughly with the completion of the town's review period for the building permit application. So we should be on track there. So we saw at our last committee meeting a mobilization logistics plan. The chief had a chance to provide some initial comments. We anticipate seeing another logistics plan at our next meeting. This is one of those activities that the logistics plan will be constantly updated, and we'll see it many times, make sure that operations continue to run smoothly. And I guess the project, the real kickoff for the project is the notice to proceed, which we anticipate to coincide with the completion of the building permit application. So right now, our OPM, CMS, architect, the team is working to kind of get organized, but the clock on the project and contracts will start with the issuance of the notice to proceed. On budget, the town meeting allocation hasn't changed. That's our budget. We're looking at a early draft of the budgeting document. Actually, I noticed in today's board's packet, for the first time I saw what CMS is actually producing for another project for the fire station. We're seeing a draft of that now being prepared. We're going back and forth just getting the line items right. That's something that will be readily available for future reporting. We have one $11,000 ad, an additional service from Tecton and Fuss and O'Neill that had to do with the wetlands delineation that wasn't part of the original scope of work, the additional survey that wasn't part of the additional scope of work. It's a modest fee for what they're trying to accomplish. But that was approved, and that's what I was referring to earlier. It's going to be issued shortly. We have also, just to be aware, because you'll see it coming up in pending changes. It's a big chunk. It's a $215,000 ad. I just want to say that this should not be viewed as an unexpected overrun. Prior to bidding, we intentionally reserved contingency for the design elements that were a product of the planning board public hearing process. So Tecton had provided a cost estimate to tell us exactly what they thought this work was going to entail. We will be issuing that formal documentation to CDI, our contractor, for pricing. So basically what we have in front of us is a projected change order, and hopefully we've cost estimated it just right, and we're at or under that budget. But that's something that's coming down the pike, but not unexpected for sure. Next slide. Okay, so the upcoming decision on hammering versus blasting of ledge, we were asked if there was a preference at the committee level, and thought that it would be good to get the select board's input on that. But we're really not ready for that final input just yet, not tonight. We'll be working with the project team to get some comparison costs, schedule, neighborhood impacts. There are some things that we know about hammering ledge versus blasting ledge. Hammering is expected, in this project, expected to take 4 to 6 weeks. Blasting will take much less. If blasting is selected, there'll still likely be some hammering. It's not a complete trade-off. Blasting does need a little fine-tuning with traditional hammering. There'll be a cost difference, as I mentioned. Blasting would carry some additional soft cost to us, like pre-blast surveys of nearby properties. That would be part of it. The savings to the schedule, could it actually save time in the overall construction schedule? I'm not certain, but what it would do is definitely build in some float time in our schedule to assure, project delivery. So we have to collect some data before we come back to you, and the timing is such that when they're up against the blasting or hammering activity, we'll be before you again to check in and share the information and or recommendation at that point. On future reporting, so
Before we move on to that,
having Yes,
though,
please.
Greg, can I just
Mhm.
ask the ESC, maybe when we have this discussion again for hammering or blasting, is there an environmental preference? They both sound pretty invasive, but blasting sounds really invasive. I
They
don't
all
know.
have a set of negatives, so how do you trade them off? I think the audible impact of long duration hammering is one thing that's, from a human perspective,
Yes.
it can be very, tedious, so, blasting has a likelihood has a higher likelihood of disturbing, underground structures further away.
Mhm.
So, I don't think we're ready to provide a sort of a,
Right, when
So
we
it
have
goes
the
in-
discussion and we
yeah.
have a vote, maybe you guys, if you have any.
we can talk a little bit more to that.
If you want to have any color commentary around the decision-making,
Mhm.
or maybe fold that into
Yeah.
their statement of facts.
I think I'd
Yes.
also like them to prepare, if there are nearby historical buildings that, the vibration would cause some sort of impact or cracking or whatever to foundations.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just put that on the
Yes.
radar.
Yep.
Yes, yeah, and generally, anytime you blast, there'll always be a pre-survey it's pretty standard. So anything that can remotely be affected would be included in that survey.
Okay.
Do we have
But
any?
yes, I think the environmental impacts, we have to think about this broadly, especially if they're asking us for a preference. Right now, the expectation is hammering, but there was an, oh, by the way, we could actually choose to attack this differently. So, to be continued.
I like your broadly comment. I mean, that's where all these different constituencies, people and how the residents feel if there's going to be a long continuing, but if you can save cost or, they're just all those things. And sounds like you're on top of that.
Yeah, and it's, certainly, the town has a long history of both, right? And the pros and cons.
Just Greg or Eric, is there any additional information about the amount of ledge we need to remove, or is this just, because I know there's some question about how much and.
And that's part of what's going into this,
Okay,
is
so
when they
you-
start taking trees out and they start seeing is what we have fissured rock, or is it one big solid mound?
So this isn't like, oh, we just found out there's a lot more ledge, so we should consider
No.
blasting. This is just,
They know they're gonna have to
Yeah,
deal with
okay.
some ledge and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, and there was a, we vetted during the completion of design how the ledge was calculated and what was carried in the specification as an overall volume. And we made some modification to address, what we think is the full ledge from a cut and fill analysis with Fuss and O'Neill and Tecton's help. But it is ledge and it is underground. So, but right now we have there's no information for us to believe that we have more ledge than what's anticipated and budgeted for in the contract.
It's good to know.
Mhm.
I remember when
The
we.
contract is such that they've already specified, based on volume, how much it's gonna cost. So it's not like, oh, we hit more, the costs are.
Right.
There's a
Right.
unit cost above what is in the bid.
Okay.
So this might be
Exactly,
our-
and so, yeah, so the unit cost is important to get into the bid early on. That's common practice even in private work. So, yeah, we try to eliminate the surprises.
That's good.
Yeah.
Always want to eliminate surprises. I know when we toured Westford, I did ask, it was Spatek giving us the tour, right? Yeah, and he said, I asked, what sort of unexpected, cost schedule, what set you behind? He said, well, we spent $1 million more blasting ledge than we thought. Whoa. So apparently they had not assessed the situation properly. I don't know. Whatever the situation was in Westford. Okay.
There's one thing I can say to you all in earnest is that there will be surprises.
Yeah.
That's for
Wait.
sure. It's construction. Okay, but we will. The goal is mitigate them as those issues come up and do it swiftly. And I think we're heading in the right direction. So jumping to future reporting, so having seen what CMS has done in the past for the town, what I was imagining, and this hasn't been discussed at the committee level in any great detail, I'm just speaking off the top of my head on this. If they produce a report that gives you an update on all that's going on, the backup of the dollars, a critical path schedule, we can circulate those packets as information. And then when the committee comes before you, we can talk at a high level on budget, schedule, and significant issues that are before us, and fill in any gaps. And that's where I'll stop. Basically, just share that with you, get some initial feedback on reporting, and we could close and just be ready to meet with you again with more detail.
That sounds fine. I mean, we would want to see the written content as well. So circulate those in advance as a pre-read, and then, we'll have the discussion. Hopefully it's, just how well you're on cost and on schedule.
Mm-hmm.
What other-
That sounds good. Actually, when it comes to the schedule line item, sometimes speaking to the board, it would be just, good use of everyone's time to say, we're still on schedule. And that's it. We want to know, do we have any risks of schedule, or are we still on schedule? It's binary sometimes.
Usually there's a metric attached to those. I mean, I'm used to large aerospace projects where you have a number, hopefully it's one, but it's not ever.
Well, the float is one of the important, right, how much float you have in the schedule.
Yeah. So, I mean, we would want to see the numbers just pre-socialized,
Yeah.
but maybe the discussion is short. And as for periodicity, is quarterly okay with folks? It's a big project, important to the town.
I mean, I can also work with you guys. I'll be going to the meetings
Yep.
and figure out what the right milestones are, because it might be quarterly, it might be based on a certain milestone. If blasting's coming up, that may make more sense. So some of it I can report through a liaison report. Some of it we can say, hey, we really should get fire station on the agenda in 2 weeks. They need a half hour.
Mhm.
And I think kind of we can feel it out. But I don't think it's going to be a set cadence.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think
Agreed.
that's how we worked with the DPW. We left it to,
Determined by
to-
events.
Right, as kind of needed and.
There's a couple,
So right now you have one project going on. Hopefully it ends soon, and then you'll have 3 starting up. So 2 in earnest, library and fire approved, and then DPW is headed towards a decision in the spring and in the design process. So tonight was also a test to see how much information do you need. Like you've already talked about the cadence. I've been providing the updates in my report, but I didn't want you to think we're summarizing these 4 major projects in just 2 lines. So it's not necessarily a question to answer tonight, but how engaged do you want to be in these projects? How informed do you want to be? What do you want from your committees and myself would be helpful, so that you're never saying to us, well, I wish, what's going on with that project. We don't want that, because we know how important this is and how many people you've talked to.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'd just like to say your committees, your police station committee has been excellent. The fire station committee is top notch. They've been all over this, very detailed. Library is too, but that's a little bit out of your purview, right? And DPW is just getting started, so we've been very lucky with our committees.
I tend to think the same. I mean, the people I've worked with on all these committees are really, dedicated and very knowledgeable, and I feel that way tonight. I mean, I get the sense that, you're doing your work and, you're making decisions on behalf of the town, but you're doing it judiciously and thoughtfully, and that's what we want. For me, it's just helpful to kind of have this overview, and if there are any major decision points or something like that, then, we can weigh in if you would like that, but that, I generally would choose to delegate to
Yeah,
those.
I mean, I think, we would come to you with a recommendation,
Yeah.
with the pros and cons, but
Yeah.
there are some decisions that would be above our pay grade, so to speak.
Well, yeah, it's good to be in the loop on those.
Or at least be in the loop, yeah.
Yeah.
What do others think?
Oh, yeah, I mean, again, the meetings I've attended, super detailed. They're gonna make a better decision than we would probably make based on a 15-minute discussion, but I think it's important to go to those and hear, because as things pop up and there's trade-offs that need to be made, it's helpful to be able to say, hey, this is maybe one we should get some outside perspective on. So I think it's really just stay in the loop, and then I can shoot you guys potential agenda items or questions that the select board needs to chime in on.
Generally, if there's ever a problem, it seems to percolate up anyway.
Yeah.
We hear about it.
Well, but to the point of, if there is something that needs, the surprise comes along and you make a change that you think is the right decision, it's, in some cases, it may be, wait a minute, like,
Yep.
before you go ahead with that, we really should get a second set of eyes. So that's really all it is. But
Yeah.
I think 9 times out of 10, if not more, we would probably support your recommendation just based on your experience.
Right.
So I'd like to just add one more thing, which is, I think the membership of the committee is such that we have a broad range of experience
Yeah.
in several different dimensions that has really helped the whole process. And, I mean,
Yeah.
you've seen some of the results of that. I just want to say that it's a good constitution of the committee.
Strong committee.
It is a strong.
Great, we're gonna have more projects, so.
Great. Go ahead.
No, just on a more micro level, just so you know, very soon we'll start seeing some tree clearing. They're eager to get a well in because they need the well to get a building permit. And once they get a building permit, then the clock starts for them.
Okay.
And so then you got 15 months to do this. They're talking about working on foundations in September. So people keep on asking what's kind of the cadence. There's your cadence.
Yeah.
And your mobilization plan, meaning how you're going to continue operations.
That's a
We
part of
didn't-
it.
Obviously, we didn't get into that, but you're feeling good about that? And any?
Yeah, so there was, the architect came up with a lot of stages. And the builder said, okay, so stage 1, we take the whole thing. So we had some discussions about that, and I think we should be in an okay place.
Okay.
Is that the input that you were looking for?
That's great for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. And so
Greg?
at this juncture, you say the next time we can expect to see you is, what was the turn of events then? After the
Yeah, I
last
think
report comes in?
we
or-
would want to see you within, in this case, on the hammering versus blasting. It'll take us a couple of weeks to get that info together. So, 3 weeks out, we'll be prepared, I believe, on the outside. So, probably see you within 4 weeks.
Great.
I'm not sure of the select board cadence of meetings, but
Every 2
Yep.
weeks.
Every 2 weeks?
Well, every second.
every 2 weeks.
August
Okay,
25th
so-
would be that meeting, would be the best opportunity, I think.
Okay, and we'll check with the project team, just knowing when the building permit is likely to be issued, and then mobilizing for that activity after some of the initial clearing and mobilization work is done. I'm thinking we're fine in seeing you in 2 meetings. That might, if there's a need to push that up, we'll reach out.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
Super, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Eric. How many committees you on now?
All of them.
We only added 1 tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we are on schedule. Item number 8 is land use strategy, objectives, and process. Okay. What is, Ryan, you want to set this one up for us?
Yes, thank you. So this is a continuation of a discussion we had last time. You had mentioned as a board wanting to get a hold of what is a very large project and a very large discussion. So we thought we'd put together a few notes. I'm joined tonight by Sarah, who has been staffing the LSC and helping with a lot of coordination of these land discussions. So if you just give me a second, I'm getting to my. It's a large-
Welcome, Sarah, by the way. Appreciate you joining us.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, to give the conversation, which is really large, some structure, I've just put together a couple notes that I'll go over with you here. Stop me at any time, and then the conversation can, of course, go in any direction you want. So first, the select board's role in this process, statutorily, you have a leadership role. You have many roles in this process, but you are the appointing authority for the Conservation Commission and the LSC. So the people you appoint will be the ones stewarding this process. And I didn't choose that word on purpose, but stewarding the land, and then through me directing the staff to support those functions. So considering your role as the appointing authority and how that will come to be as you make future appointments. So although the CONSCOM controls the land and owns the land and maybe decides the policies and the stewardship, you decide the people that are going to do that. So you play a big role in this. And then also you assign resources. And what I would like to talk about a little bit is there are a lot of decisions being made that require a lot of resources, whether that's staffing for the various projects or the capital investments that would be required. And because it's conservation land, we sent a memo to you from the staff talking about how approaches to conservation land have changed over the last 50 years. So it might have seen to be just normal practice to buy a piece of land and let it do what it's going to do, or to consider that agriculture will always be a part of the Carlisle community as it has always been. Like a great example is the cranberry bog. You bought it as a cranberry bog, the town might have assumed that it was going to be a cranberry bog forever. And when those change, so does the nature of how you have to take care of that land. So it can go from passive to aggressive pretty quickly, depending on what you need. And then, of course, ecology has changed. Approaches to the environment have changed in the last 50 years. And all of this requires resources and deliberation. So there will be a lot of things coming at me and you in terms of budget requests and staffing requests, and I'd like to get an idea of how you want me and others to manage that. And we had a great conversation with the LSC last week about how the staff can help manage the LSC's work, right? And while we were having that discussion, I was thinking, how does this impact the budget? How would the select board react to increasing land management budgets or the investments in capital that are coming? So I think that's important for you to get involved in early, because once all of the community conversations have happened and discussions have happened, it's pretty baked, and then it becomes kind of a conflict over a set direction that may not be funded. So I'll pause there in the role, like the role of the select board. Just if and you don't have to, but if you have any thoughts or guidance on that, we would love to hear that or talk about a process to help develop that idea.
We have a regular cadence of plans that come out, right? And our normal method of taking care of this in town is to, staff it with a bunch of volunteers and led by a staff person, and then update a plan and then go execute on the plan. And I'm thinking here of the master plan, the open space and recreation plan, and I feel like that would be, I think, a good approach here is to lead an update of both of those plans. And then the master plan is 5 years in. We're celebrating the 5-year anniversary, which feels like a logical point to sort of take stock and say, how have we been doing against implementation? And in doing so, that exercise has value, right? You can, see, is it still the plan to be a cranberry bog? You know, what needs to happen to maintain that, or do we want to turn it into a, you know, it's turning into a maple grove, whether we want it to or not right now. I don't know if you guys have been over there recently. But do we want to spend any more money on dams when it's not going to be a cranberry bog, right? So I think there probably should be, you know, the town as a whole coming together to take a look at all these pieces of land and say, is this really still the intent, and how are we executing against what we said our plan was? How do we feel about that? What are the thoughts?
My challenge is we see individual issues pop up around specific parcels, and it's like, and we're sometimes playing mediator, sometimes trying to make a decision. Do you support this in a budget capacity? Do you support this in a priority? And frankly, I have no idea. I don't know. Trying to look at these things on a reactive parcel by parcel basis is difficult, because you don't know, should we support investing in the cranberry bog dams? What's the plan? And if the plan hasn't been updated, or if we don't have to use an appropriate term, if we can't see the forest, how can we evaluate the individual issues? So from a select board standpoint, what I'd like to have is something that I could refer back to say, yes, like the master plan, this is in line with our goals, and this particular parcel, and maybe not every little detail is mapped out, but feeds this overall goal. And yeah, we should support this because we're moving in this direction, and that moves us in that direction. And there is a plan in place, but it's outdated, and it's, I think for me to support individual investment and changes in use in parcels, I would need to see the updated plan and understand how that fits in the bigger picture. Because there's a lot of potential money out there to be spent and prioritization to be made.
Technically, all of our plans are current. I looked online, and man, we have a lot of plans, right? The master plan is a 20-year plan. It's meant to be a 20-year plan. But the recommendation was that there's an implementation committee. We opted not to do that for whatever reason. So now we just need to do, stand up some sort of committee to do like a 5-year relook as to, are we on path? Are we a quarter of the way through the goals that we said? And then the open space and recreation plan, I think that's not due now until 2030 or whatever it was, right? But there's no reason we couldn't put forward a, midpoint, inventory of how we're doing.
So
I don't think it's up for, I feel like I resonate with what Scott said, is that it's not up to one board to say, well, you want us to have an approach, stand up a process. You're not looking for specific budget. You're not looking.
Yeah, I think that you're talking about, and I tend to agree. I mean, it's important we're going to go parcel by parcel and think and get a really detailed, but we should start with some more macro plan of each of the, like if you can say, this is what it's been used for, and this is that what you're referring to, Scott?
Yeah, like how does so for example, this is a hypothetical, like say, okay, we really want to invest in dams in the cranberry bog, right? And it's going to be $4 million in dam work. Well, that's where we're spending our money in conservation, is in the cranberry bog. You have to know what your overall portfolio parcels is, and what your other potential, just like the capital plan. Like we need to know what the entire, not to use another word, landscape looks like.
Fire.
Because I feel like when we as a select board member, when I see things, it's like this parcel or that, and it's like I don't have any idea how to assess whether it should be continue agriculture or this, and if there should be a change, or should we invest here or here. I don't have that perspective, and I don't know, and I think we need to get that perspective, either through an updated plan or the work that conservation and LSC do. We need to understand what's the priority for investment, for resource, for usage, what usage should change, what should stay the same. And I know we have a plan, but I don't know that people feel like it's up to date or current.
Which plan are you talking
Like
about?
land use plan?
We do, open space and recreation plan. And it was beautifully done, I have to say.
So that's the umbrella plan. Each parcel has some type of land management plan, but
Right.
they're 20 years old.
Yeah.
The open space plan dates from 2021, I think. And now, apparently it was supposed to be updated starting in next year, but we got a 3-year extension. So now it's not due until, 2030 or so. So, but, I actually kind of think 7 years was kind of a good periodicity for that one. Because we could use the exercise now. There is value in the exercise. The town coming together, people weighing in on what exactly they want to have done. But you're asking us for a framework and then, assigning resources.
So when we had, talking about long-term management strategy, Sarah and I devised a public forum, and the CONSCOM picked, and I'm kind of being funny on purpose, but a non-controversial piece of land to start a process of reviewing the past, going through the documents and the purpose that was stated originally, where it's gone, and then get input from the community as to what they'd like to see keep the same, change, or how they would like to use. And it was very well attended. It was every bit of the 2 hours that we had allotted for it. And the people who went were very passionate about the use. But one of the things that came out of that was what you're talking about, is that there needs to be a conversation about the portfolio of land. So anything that was agriculturally controlled, if there isn't a farmer to succeed that agricultural use, it's going to change quickly its purpose. And agricultural land is a way that small towns manage the cost of owning land.
Right.
And you own a lot of land, 1,000 acres or so. So if you do have, say, X percentage agricultural, X for passive recreation, if you were to create that strategy, which I suggest that you do, you also have to think what happens if there are no more farmers to farm it. And a great example is Farmer Duffy, who's done tremendous things for this town. He has a lot of the land tied up into the operation of his business, right? And that's good. It's been good for the town. It helps us manage the land. But if that was to no longer be a business, then that would be a lot of land that immediately falls out of use.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's going to happen or anything like that, but much like employee planning, there should be succession planning for the land. And then, of course, any of these decisions need to be connected to your budget process and then your staffing process. So if you were to develop a land management plan that was aggressive, you would need more staff. And I think we would need to talk about that. And one of the things that we did talk about in some of our meetings is, do we add a DPW worker who could replace some of the contracts for mowing, et cetera? It would be a capital investment, but I'm not saying we should or shouldn't do that, but if we had a picture of everything that we were required to do, that might be the cheapest option or best option versus a contract. So that's what I mean about this long-term strategy and approach from your perspective.
But the Conservation Commission, it's their responsibility to make that plan, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they own the land. I guess you could own land and not have a plan, but that's not a good idea.
And that's where some of the confusion. You're saying they're looking at us, we should make a long-term plan, and then I say, well, isn't that the Conservation Commission's role? And do they agree with that? Do they not agree with that? Is that a priority for them? If not, what do we do? I mean, we can't de-appoint people. I mean, we're appointing authority, but we don't have jurisdiction on this.
But when you appoint them, do you?
We budget, but.
Well, and we're trying to, I think, biggest picture, help set the priorities of the town, or at least we're doing that. And that's what this is seemingly is becoming, is a major priority for, I mean, it's certainly we haven't voted on our goals, but, one of our goals this year. And so I think we got to take it on.
Yeah.
In some capacity, you want to, you're saying, oh, we can just push it to the CONSCOM?
No, well, I don't think push it is the right word, because it's their responsibility, but,
Take ownership.
Take ownership, and I guess the simple thing is, there is no budget unless there's a plan and the due diligence to support that budget. So, like, as we sit here now, we have all these plans, all these lookouts, all these investments required for town building infrastructure, operating budget. I'm not aware of a land investment budget, like, that lays out what we think is needed in all the different parcels in terms of investment. So, like, we talk about the dams at the Cranberry Bog. I haven't seen anything in any capital plan about what that looks like, when that is. And I guess my thing is, without a plan, there is no money. Like, you have to, to me, if you come with an ad hoc, well, we got to invest this in the cranberry bog, I would say, well, how does this fit in the larger plan? And if there's no larger plan, well,
But that's not what happened. Didn't we just last year vote in some dollars for the dam repair and spent quite a lot of money on that, yeah?
It was a couple years ago now.
A couple years ago now.
The problem with the dam is the design of as you remember from the public discussion, the design of the dam will eventually influence the land's use. So you need the right dam for the right use, and the design that was floated, I'm trying not to use all the words that Scott's using.
it's hard.
The design that was discussed did not necessarily match some of the uses of the abutters, et cetera, which is why you had that political conflict.
Right.
So really what I think needs to be decided first is the use of the land, and then the infrastructure makes sense.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the hardest part, is to get agreement on any
What is
future
the use of the land?
direction. So I do think it's the conservation's land. This isn't your area, but one of the things we're suggesting is meeting with the stakeholders, because if you, like I get to do a lot, which is a privilege, meet with a lot of the stakeholders, they all have very different plans. And they do have plans. They're just not town-coordinated plans. So they might go ahead with their plan, and they're doing a great job executing it, and eventually these plans collide. And if you understood everybody's plan and intention, then you would remove silos, right? Sounds a lot like staffing, and create a unified plan. And
So Sarah,
sounds so easy.
is the intent then, when you say get the stakeholders together, to have a forum like what you hosted for Fox Hill, and do that parcel by parcel, or how did we want to structure those discussions?
So Sarah and I received some resistance on that idea, because to do it for 30-something
That's
community
very
forums
time-consuming, yeah.
is a lot. But we did want to test it. Sarah did a great job putting it together and managing the conversation, and it became clear to us that this is even bigger passion project than we thought.
Yeah.
So maybe we combine 5 pieces of land into one forum and knock those out or whatever. But the community input is really supposed to feed you, the CONSCOM, the finance committee, on the actual information, because one of the issues you had when these discussions came around to you was you didn't understand what the community thought about it, and you wanted that input. So we were kind of trying to show you what that looks like, and it's cumbersome.
It is, yeah.
But you saw with the AgCom coming to you, they described their process as being a little bit reactive, so that when they found a threat to threat's the wrong word, but a challenge to agriculture, they found it to be their role to come in and advocate for that. The problem is that's not a proactive approach. It's not a planned approach. So they talked about having one, right? And they were going to bring that back to you. If Trails did that, LSC, all the different land users did that, and you had that conversation, we think it would help. So that's what we mean by meet with all the stakeholders.
Okay.
What's your bigger plan? How does it match everyone else's plan? Have you talked to the other people to make sure that these aren't siloed plans?
What does that look like? I mean, is that a dedicated 3 nights? Like with Select Board, CONSCOM, LSC, FinCom,
I know,
ESC?
everyone's Trails, it's,
Like,
you name it.
Tactically, how do you get everybody in the room and move the thing forward, given how complicated and broad it is? That's where I struggle with. It's like, how do you wrestle this thing?
So the recommendations that we have is to have at least that initial discussion with each one of these land use boards. Do you have a plan? What's your plan? How would you make a plan? And I think it would be illuminating to you who does and does not have a plan, and some people have very specific targeted plans, and some people don't have any.
For all parcels.
Not just in general.
Like we heard from AgCom last meeting, right? They don't have a plan. They're just going.
Would this be something that we could survey in writing, like for, at first,
Can we read the plan?
like ask them to email us, like each parcel, like what they have their plan,
I think you might hear 5 different plans from 5 different people on the same.
100%.
And if it's not a plan until it's been voted on and it's written down, so can we get a copy of the plans?
Maybe from each of the committee, right? If that's the
There's-
concern, that each
There's
committee has different interests and
Yeah.
has different plans. If we ask them, like, do we have to have a meeting first versus have them email it to kind of give a sense? If there is conflict, if there's competing interests, so that we can, like, if only one group has a plan for a certain parcel, you know, like, or maybe that one's low-hanging fruit, and put that
Right.
aside, so we can focus on the ones where it's like
But there are, like,
everybody.
3 different uses for Banta Davis and,
Yeah.
right. Mm-hmm.
So then you have 2 planning processes that are currently in place, your open space and recreation plan and your master plan.
Yeah.
Both of them are lacking, like in every community in Massachusetts and in North America, implementation. So your focus could be to force the implementation of the recommendations in those plans in order to get funding or resources. That's your primary lever. And then you have the power of staff. So staffing certain initiatives will get things done, as you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect to have a plan come from tonight, but the discussion that we had the last time was, well, what is the scope? And I think this is the
Yeah,
this is the issue.
you've set the boundaries, and you're looking for some guidance and direction from us.
Well, LSC and Conscom should be on this, like, they need to get on the same page and they should have a plan.
Well, they,
Like, that, I mean, but those are 2 big constituents. One is a subcommittee of the other. So like, they shouldn't be on 2 different wavelengths.
well, it sounds like they're now more aligned.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's I mean, you have other uses, but that's the biggest, and they're ultimately have the decision-making authority, not the budget authority, but it's their land, so.
I'm being slightly tongue-in-cheek, but we had a conversation about staff supporting LSC function. And one of the things that came up was who was going to cut the branches around the edges of the piece of property. And my question is, what are we doing on that property that would require the cutting of the branches? And in the volunteer's mind, that was very obvious, why you would cut the branches, because there is a use that is intended. Now, that use, if agreed upon, is a perfectly legitimate use, but the cutting of the branches is going to be an annual thing that's going to require staffing and money. So the idea that everybody supports the plan where there's the cutting of the branches, I think is important.
Right.
Otherwise, we're getting things piecemeal too. Is staff mowing this?
Right.
Is this invasive being pulled? Are we putting in a grant for this particular project? And if you ask me, can I do all those things? Yes. Is it coordinated? No.
No, it's not coordinated.
No.
Right, that's what you're asking. Sarah, do we have management plans for all of our parcels? Are they up to date?
Not for all of them. I would say there's probably about 10 management plans, between 10 and 12.
30.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
So there's a good number. And also there's 2 different types of documents that were prepared over the years. One is called a baseline assessment, and one is a management plan. So some properties have both, and some properties only have one or the other of those that have been addressed over the years. They are on the town website. I've put together this table that you can see which ones have it. But it's mostly like what you would consider the big ones: Foss, Greeno. Fox Hill was actually the first one that got a management plan, and I think the most recent one would have been Benfield. So there is not a current plan for every single property. And there is also, I think property may be a better or more accurate term, just because some properties are actually multiple parcels. We had to have that whole discussion as staff as well to make sure we knew exactly what we meant. But yes, so I would say between 10 and 12, I don't know the exact off the top of my head, have have management plans or some sort of document created by the LSC over the last 20 years.
So I have a question, Sarah. So in Ryan's example, where the town's getting piecemeal requests, is that information in those plans? Like if someone just went into the management plans and rolled up all the maintenance requirements, you would have an overall maintenance plan? Or is that information not necessarily in the management plan that says trim the trees every 6 months or every 2 years?
It varies from plan to plan. I would say most of them were done from a broader perspective and less about some of the things you've been talking about, you know, like the yearly maintenance and what will require capital versus volunteers. And different approaches to implementation have been taken over time, mostly by the Land Stewardship Committee because they were the group creating these plans. So I would say they're not really referenced, or I haven't seen them be referenced in making decisions, but they are very helpful because they bring together a lot of the history. Oh, perfect, yes. They bring together a lot of the, you know, background on the properties. So that's how we've been referencing them as of late, is just because there are some of these properties, you know, it took years and years to acquire and the paper trail is just very extensive. So the assessments have been helpful for that. But I would say the management plans, yeah, in my experience, I'm sure they were and have been used over the years. I mean, I'm relatively new to looking through all of these and this whole process, but
Would it be feasible?
yeah, I would say
to-
they're more
so-
on the broad side.
So it sounds like they're all kind of their own thing. Would it be feasible to come up with a summary template with like basic information we need for each parcel, like maintenance, whatever the line items are that would be helpful to the town, maintenance, purpose, you know, whatever, that like 1 sheet, 2 sheet that we could then populate using these existing plans, identify gaps and try to at least have a universal document that,
Right, like a
that we could just
template.
say, okay, we don't know what this needs, or we don't have this answer, but maybe we need some kind of universal, just, and I don't mean like a full 30-page document for each
No, but
property,
there should be a short template that calls out all the relevant fields. Like, what are the resources required to maintain this land?
or at least the fields we want to know as a select board, and we can say,
Right.
fill these out, like,
Certainly, I don't know if the ESC gets involved in these, but, or maybe Conscom is already all over it, but, you know, what are the endangered species or the protected species at each, you know, piece of land? All of that ought to be captured as well, right? But certainly, what
feed it
our
into
interest
AI
is.
and just- No, seriously, put the plans in AI and just
That's
say,
right. That's a
pull it
great
out.
idea. I mean, I'm looking at these dates. These haven't been updated. Foss Farm is it's very heavily used, and it's not been updated since 2014. And I know a lot has changed since 2014. Anyway, so I'm looking at the time here. We only have a few minutes left on this agenda topic. Let's get to a path forward and some next steps. The recommendations were to meet with all the stakeholders. I think that's a good idea. With the idea of, you know, updating our open space recreation plan was a recommendation, and assigning master plan recommendations. I do think both of those could stand an update. You know, and then as for staffing, I would look to staff to moderate some of those discussions, right? I mean, keep them on the straight and narrow. And I think as part of that, when the community comes together to rewrite those or update those plans, you get some silos coming down. You know, I think in the meantime, Ryan, these, you know, one-off decisions come to you and people are looking for resources. Right now, this is maybe not a realistic position because we don't have updated plans and they've not been tied to resources. But eventually the answer will be, if it's not in the plan, it's not getting funded. Were you going to say something, Travis?
No, I'm listening.
I thought
but
you were gonna say something.
I can say something if you
Please.
want. I'm always- I actually, Scott, I like your idea there, and I don't know, I mean, as far as feasibility and stuff, but is that like a helpful thing, do you think, if we had but I would think even at the high level, people are gonna be I don't know, challenged on a lot of, challenging some of the assumptions that are even in the high-level summary, but maybe I'm wrong, but maybe that is a good place to start with this. And then
Yeah,
move
it's
out from there.
reminiscent of what you would require from the police department to receive a budget.
Yes.
Mhm.
So,
Where has the planning board been in any of this? Do they just are handling residential or? They have
Yeah.
for town land. They
you're,
don't-
you're right, and this is a conscom function,
Okay.
informed by many of the other interest boards that you've put together.
And Sarah's been the lead from a staff standpoint. Like, what's the roles between Sarah and Megan from a staff standpoint in this effort?
All right, so we hired Megan to transition to bridge from Sylvia to a future conservation administration. So she's been focused a lot on helping the conscom, organizing, digitizing, and focusing on the day-to-day management of conservation. Sarah was assigned with her expertise and in her role as sustainability coordinator to support this function, which is the investigation and assistance in land use, which could be its own person easily. Long-term, there's some type of plan and path where, maybe that land use assistant goes somewhere else, but this is a multi-year investment, so putting Sarah there was important. But when boards consider staff support, sometimes they think about minutes and agendas and that other thing, and as you can see here, there's a lot of work that's necessary, some expertise. So when we went to talk to Conscom and LSC about the charter, we were pretty forceful about staff serving in a certain function and not being used for minutes and agendas, which you saw tonight can also cause a problem with the backlog of minutes and agendas, right? But we have marching orders from you and the FinCom to make sure that we're maximizing and making efficient staff. So until directed otherwise, that's where we're going. That is where staffing is right now with conservation.
And from a planning standpoint, though, is all the inertia coming from Sarah's work, or does conservation have this as a priority, the conscom? Do they have dedicated committee members assisting Sarah? Like, or are we just trying to kickstart all that?
So the way I see it, the conservation is the manager of the property. They own the property, and they created the LSC to execute their vision.
Right.
So what can happen with the LSC is if there is no specific vision, then they can kind of do their own, which cause some problems. So the best thing to do would be to agree on the vision and then send out the execution. However, like, stuff grows, it needs to be mowed and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So the LSC is
It does
balancing
grow.
like the actual physical management, day-to-day management of the land with this idea of developing the future, which is why we put the staff resource there to try to help get ahead. But you don't see in any of these notes or anything like what you should or should not do with the land. It's how can we help you figure that out?
Mm-hmm.
But that's Sarah, the staff.
Yep.
Yep.
I
And
mean,
she's
we have
also-
thoughts on how you should use it, but that's not our call, so.
Well, she's done a lot of great work on the grant side and climate, the ESC, and all those things. So you got to balance her time as well.
Yes. And your number one land issue is the cranberry bog. You've heard me say that before.
Right.
Like, getting a decision on that piece of property, although I think that's a master's class in public administration on its own, is vital because of the cost of that property and its interest to the residents.
And that's been in limbo for,
Decades,
At least a decade.
at least a decade,
since-
yeah.
yeah.
When is Conscom going to come in and see us?
Hopefully soon.
And that'd be our next big conversation, right? I mean,
They're on board with this, and they're awesome. Like, they're trying to tackle this too, but they also have notice
Yeah.
of intents and other things that they have to
Yeah,
follow.
There's a lot of day-to-day stuff.
so I'm looking at your recommendations here, Ryan. We're just a little bit over on our agenda time. So meet with all the stakeholders. Yeah, I mean, set it up. I don't know. That could be a very lengthy process. And then updating the open space and recreation plan. I think, Gretchen mentioned that Mary Zoll came in and said, put me to work, it's time to update the plan, and it is. So, I mean, I would love to spin up a committee to get that updated with town staff moderating. And then assigning master plan recommendations I'm not sure what that means exactly. What I'm thinking of is moving forward on the implementation, right? Or doing an inventory first off to see how much we've actually executed against already. And then are we a quarter of the way there? And then building consensus for shared files, permitting, and staffing. Absolutely. I mean, all of our town resources should be shared.
Yeah, Scott, you said throw it in AI, and I agree with you, but we need to get it out of the file and into the computer so that we can do that.
Where are the
We're
files?
in 1980
We need a
here.
robot to go get the file.
It's not like a personal mission of mine. It's to feed that idea that
Meaning they're not even digitized?
They're not
Correct.
digitized.
So they clearly haven't been updated in a while. If it's on parchment.
There was one in there that was 2007. So, and then still, I mean, so who updates these management plans? Wasn't that LSC to put those together? Yeah. So hopefully they're executing on those.
you would consider getting the right people on the LSC to want to do that. You need the right type of volunteer who would want to do long-term management. Because there are people, and I would probably one of them, that want to go out and take the sticks that the beavers keep putting in our culverts out and allow things to flow and manage the land. And then there are people who are interested in, 20-year plans. So if you have an LSC full of doers, that's great, but you're not going to have the planning, and vice versa. If you just have the planners, you're not going to have the mowers and the stick removers and
Yeah, there's
great
different kinds of
volunteers
volunteers for sure.
So
Do they
that
not-
really is your role, to make sure you have that mix.
Well, we're not appointing LSC.
You do.
We do.
We do. I thought we appointed Conscom and they appointed LSC.
You appoint anything that you appoint. So any child of one of your children is an appointee of yours.
Okay. Okay, so what do we want to do tonight, guys?
Let's get Conscom on the schedule.
Yep.
Did you get enough direction? Or is this just the starting point for this? There's no real direction.
Trying to add structure to the conversation, that's all. So
Okay.
I feel like that was accomplished tonight.
Okay. So there's nothing more you need from us at this point?
No, except getting some of this stuff on your agenda and attacking it piece by piece.
But it is fair to say, if you look at every other aspect of our town government that requires budget and dollars, we are moving towards a plan for all these big investments. So if investment is going to be required in land use, there will need to be a plan.
It's just like the capital budget.
It's just like, I mean, it is.
Ryan came in and did a magnificent job of putting that together with the team and everything, and making sure we move towards a place where everybody knows we gotta get on the plan if we're gonna be funded, and at least that's the effort to do that. I think we need something like that with this land management. It's the same type of thing. It's looking at that, saying, here are all the pieces, I mean, you already laid it out in
Yeah,
your
we're-
summary,
Right,
and what it's gonna cost, and these are the decisions.
And where as a town are we gonna put our investment in money and resource? Where should it go? And where is it not gonna go? And so
Yeah.
I think that's the general message is, for if you want long-term funding, you need a plan.
So, yeah, it needs to be tied to the budget process for sure. Ryan, you have a bullet in here about balance, volunteer, and staff recruitment and time. Tell me a little bit more about that. I realize if we hand it to staff, it's going to get done. And if we hand it to volunteers, it may eventually get done. But there's value in that exercise, right? We bring people together, and that's what makes Carlisle a community is, the kitchen table talks for the master plan and the coming together and the just hashing out ideas. And that's how you get to know your neighbors. So that's the value of having more of a volunteer. In your mind, it's not balanced right now, or what is the balance in your opinion?
So part of the thing that I just said to you, which was make sure your committee, and I know you only have so many volunteers, right? So this is
Yeah,
ideal.
it's always a problem, yeah.
That it's balanced between future thinkers and current doers. But also, I agree with you, if you give something to staff, it's going to get done. But it's going to get done without
Efficiently.
input,
Right, mm-hmm.
maybe, from committees, boards, stakeholders, et cetera, unless the staff does that.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just give things to staff unless it's properly, like, we've all talked about this and we agree, now go.
This is, firm guidance and direction, yeah.
So Sarah has been doing a great job of assembling documents, getting information into the right people's hands, getting them to talk. She is not writing land management plans yet, because then it would be Sarah's plan and not the town's plan.
Right, no.
Even though she's very capable of doing that, I think. Maybe she disagrees, but.
Just write the plans.
And then current
Right
issues,
at the
land management planning, removing the silos. Yep, need to update the conservation policies and practices. That's on CONSCOM. Volunteer training and recruitment. That is a goal that we're going to address shortly when we talk about our goals. Okay, what else do you need from us tonight, Ryan?
That's it.
Is that it? Okay.
It's good discussion. Thank
Did
you.
we help at all? I feel like, I mean, can we,
If this was a financial line item, it would be the equivalent of OPEB or your building deferred maintenance. This is a asset
huge issue.
liability that's hanging out there, and if you don't start working on it, it's going to solve itself.
Grow
And you
in.
do not want that.
no.
The cost to fix it once it's gone wrong is going to be too high. So if we start working on it now, I think we can do it.
Yeah.
And people have been forever. Like, this isn't a new concept. It's just, maybe it's a new era.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just, for digitizing, if you have stuff, like you've got a lot of stuff that's related to this that needs to be digitized, is this something you could offer volunteer hours to high school kids to come in and go?
At some point. Sometimes that's more management, because you have to know what you're getting rid of, and
Okay.
Okay.
because some of that is forever if you get rid of the wrong document.
You just have them scan it through and not get rid of it.
I know this isn't like, just to give a quick full answer.
Yeah.
A file might be this thick,
Yeah.
and you might only need that,
Okay.
and if you only need that, it saves money to only scan
Only
that.
scan
So
that,
you have
okay.
you have to go through it.
Okay.
It takes
Assuming
a lot
you
of-
found that file in the first.
Yeah.
It's not as simple, it's not a big stack and let's just get through it. It's,
So Ryan, what's involved with standing up the committee to update the open space and recreation plan? Can we just, I think we just put out the all call last time and people raised their hand. And as we saw with the discussion with Fox Hill, this is a subject matter that interests a lot of people in town, and we tend to get good turnout for the master plan, open space plan. These are passion areas for people. Is that a good approach, or did you need something more short-term?
I would suggest when you talk to the RecCom and the ConsCom, that you ask them what their plan is, and then help facilitate one that exists or doesn't.
Okay. Okay.
Because they're the primary stakeholders.
They are, yeah. Okay, we are over time on that particular topic. Why don't we go ahead and move on? We're going to look at goals real quick. My intent here was just if anyone had any edits from the version that Gretchen sent out, and then to assign a select board sponsor who can help lead the effort and just make sure that it's, you know, on its way and things are happening and progress is being made. Does that sound good? Yes,
I let her in.
Addie?
Addie Grady, 75 Indian Hill, Planning Board, excuse me. I just want to get back to the topic of the open space and recreation plan. I think that it should be considered in the context of master plan priorities that are not just open space and recreation, because putting a claim that's open space and recreation on every available piece of land in town really limits the opportunity for other master plan priorities to be realized. So I would encourage
That's true.
incorporation of those priorities into the discussion.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, we will turn our attention to goals.
I have two things on this, because I wasn't here last time, so
Right.
Sorry.
Yes.
One of them is kind of an update. Does the one where we talk about ferns need an update based on kind of the current trajectory that looks like it's taking?
I was going to suggest the same. I'd like to take my name out of the.
Yeah,
goals.
there's
I
one.
thought that was. I don't know how they.
Travis is the Ferns czar.
you're strongly leaning, no, it's like, bye-bye.
I think that came out of the last discussion, and I don't know how it made it in there.
I think AI put it in there.
I think that was an comment, anyways, it was.
Okay. We aren't going to name names in the goals, so we can take
I
out
appreciate that.
Vice Chair Snell will serve as liaison.
Yeah,
for
that's
it.
Right.
It's forever immemorialized.
But I do think that as a select board, we talked about it, and that we're supportive of Fern, so I actually like that last sentence in there, aside from my, well, removing after the comma there, unless other people thought otherwise.
I just don't think we need to name your name.
Yeah,
No, yeah.
I'm asking to be.
I mean, I think we still continue to support Ferns, and the tying into the wastewater treatment plant sounds a little onerous, but it's really not a bad potential solution.
I think we're gonna have to.
And I think for us, it may come down to, like, the select board, that we don't have the say in a lot of aspects
So
of
I
it.
didn't want to get into like wastewater and let's just like talk about the goal itself. Was there any change to this language? And then who wants to, let's start at the top though. DPW Facility Improvement Project. I think, Travis, you're liaison on that, yes?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I think that would
certainly-
make sense for you to take over
Yeah.
as, and then the Bog House and the Article 97 transfer, that could really be any number of people, right? I mean, that could be Rebecca,
Probably,
probably best Rebecca.
probably, yeah.
Okay. We had a goal around the Highland Building, which is to recommend a path forward one way or another at the annual town meeting. I actually, I mean, how did we get about and secure required funding sources? In our very first conversation around Highland, we're like, we're not spending any more money until we've got a plan. And then somehow the words "and funding if need be," crept back in. Can we take out the funding piece? Is that super important to anyone?
We wouldn't secure it prior to town meeting.
No, so it would be recommend a path forward for the Highland Building in time for town meeting, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna get rid of securing any
Well,
funding.
we have that too. The target is recommend a path forward for the Highland Building, period. The target is to present a recommendation or set of options at the 2027.
Right,
Yeah. So we don't really need to say town meeting again.
no, right, those are sort of redundant, that is true.
So I would just Highland Building, period, and then strike and secure required funding sources if necessary prior to town meeting.
Correct, that's good,
We
okay,
can't do that.
thank you. And then as for a select board champion for the Highland Building goal,
I mean, is it a school? Like, if it's school, it would be me. I don't know.
I know that one doesn't
It's
have an
kind
obvious.
of I don't know if it's historical commission, it would be me.
It's all pointing.
Can someone, any other suggestions?
Zoning Board of Appeals, oh, that's.
ESC? Who's ESC?
Scott, you wanna take it?
No, the ESC doesn't even want this one. You can put my name next to that. I
Okay.
can't make any promises, but I'll at least stay on top of it. We should each get a building.
Right. Okay, Benfield, we have a stated goal around meeting with NOAA leadership, establishing a shared action plan, addressing unresolved conditions, including HVAC. We have some other, we're oddly specific on this goal.
Yep.
HVAC inadequacies during heat waves. I think maybe we can make a few edits on this one. Meet with NOAA leadership to establish a shared action plan for addressing Benfield residents' needs. The action plan should address unresolved conditions.
Just under the site review, you take out the,
How about just,
you don't need to put the actual.
yeah, should just address unanswered maintenance requests.
Are we doing this right now, or is this,
What?
is someone,
I'm recording it.
oh, you are, okay.
Yeah.
But we're looking to vote on this, so tonight
Right.
So maybe he could put it up after he does all
or
this.
something.
Yeah, just we'll be specific about what language we want to strike. And it's just, the language I want to strike is to make the second sentence more general and not identify specifically HVAC inadequacies during heat waves. That's oddly specific. Okay, and then who would like to be a sponsor for Benfield?
I think that's probably me again.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. And then we have under the caring community category, third spaces and community gathering. This is to support opportunities for community gathering and informal third spaces. This includes ferns.
Who's our
So,
representative of the Council on Age and Human Services. Is that you?
That's right, yeah.
David?
Yep.
that is,
That's, I think, kind of one of their big, initiatives.
Mhm.
Is kind of, if it's not the senior center or it's community center, it's figuring out what the uses are and how those can weave in.
okay.
So I don't know if that's something you want to.
Can I
Yeah,
put your
I'll
name
put-
next to
yep,
that?
Yep.
With Vice Chair Snell retaining the Ferns Star title.
We can all work on. I just
Okay.
had said I'd heard about that as from a lot of people who say, "What are you doing? What are you doing about ferns?"
Travis, what are you
I
doing?
know.
And I say, "Well, if I owned it, but
When they ask me, I'm like, you got to ask Travis. I don't know what he's doing over there.
right."
Travis is holding the whole thing up.
No, but it's a community, it's
No, it is.
private property, but it is a community.
The community fixture and a.
fixture. Yes.
Okay, trust funds disbursement. I'll go ahead and continue the work that I was working on that last year, but
Alright.
that's really right now with staff. Did you need something, Ryan?
Just paranoid about spelling Rebecca's name.
Oh. Town volunteer recruitment. Here's one that's wide open, folks. This is growing the town volunteer base by recruiting residents who do not already serve on boards, which is really the key part of that whole goal.
I think the chair would be good at that. You're
Okay.
You're getting.
Yeah, being the
lots of-
welcome wagon. Sure, I
Yeah.
can do that. Okay. Community Preservation Act assessment.
So I wanted to talk a little bit more about this. This is the other one that I,
Yeah.
had some, like, more substantive. I felt like, I know it sounded like, even reading the minutes, like we tried to soften a little bit this goal, I think, but I feel like having the conclusion that we want to go to town meeting through the warrant article is too hard and fast. Like, I feel like this might be, we want to talk to community and get input, but I don't know that, like, I haven't heard a lot of complaints, I think, about the CPA, and it's funded a lot of stuff that we've done to implement parts of the master plan over the past few years. So I don't know that we want to do something that hampers our progress like that. So I think, and I don't know that it's necessary. So I don't know that I want to say, like, and seek affirmation at the, like, we might not need to go there.
Yeah.
We can have a discussion, but.
Now, Scott, you thought it was very important to take the pulse of people. What
Yeah.
was- Yeah.
Because from a budgeting standpoint, we're looking at, within our operating capital budget, A, we're asking a lot of people over the long term, and B, we take a really close look at every dollar that's spent. And the CPA is a surcharge. There's a fair amount of the population that isn't familiar with it. And it's something that the community has supported, and this question was brought several years ago, and the town voted to continue it. But I think, given everything we're doing, to really look at every cost, it's not in the town budget, but it's a cost to the taxpayer. I think it's important to periodically, this is like the auto subscription, like it's periodically important to go through this exercise to both educate people, get a sense of, are people supportive at the current level, at a reduced level, at no level? Because to make a change to it does require a lot of steps and a lot of time. So that's my point, is it just seems prudent to just check in on this one every 5 years or so.
I think it was also, with a light toward inflation, people could use a little bit of budget relief. If you gave people the option, what would they say? Because people could use you know, maybe some households are struggling in Carlisle, and they say, this is the last thing I need to do is another, you know, and I am right there with you, Rebecca. I think it's done a lot of good. In fact, maybe we preface this conversation at town meeting by saying, and by the way, these are how your CPC dollars have gone to work for you, the CPA dollars have gone to work for you in the last, you know, 25 years.
But it's also important to note, it's changed substantially from when the town voted it in. At the time, it was a dollar for dollar match. We're down to 18, I think it was 18% last year. And it also, there's a lot of restrictions around how we use it. So I think that part of it too is also changed and changes the value proposition of doing it. And there's costs, opportunity cost to putting money in CPA funds, because there's a lot of things that we think we would consider community-based investments that we can't make because of the various regulations. And then the other thing that I just thought is worth questioning or asking from our state representatives is, you know, for a town, we have a pretty healthy CPA fund, and it doesn't seem like the state gives towns any allowance to say, we really support this and we want to continue it, but we'd like to do a year or 2 years or some limited term at either no participation or a limited participation. It's this whole like process to get in and get out. And just given the economic climate in the state, it seems common sense to me that they would support something like that. And then it would also help them do higher matches. I don't know. It probably would go nowhere, but I think it's just a line of questioning worth asking.
Well, for me, I think it was just that, like, we have language in one of these others that says we're going to do this without the presupposition of the conclusion,
sure.
right? So I think here it's like, this is like, we are definitely going to go with a warrant article. And so that's my concern, is that I don't know that I don't know that I support that language.
Would you support taking, so what are you suggesting? Just take out the
Well-
warrant article aspect? What do you-
I would say, or we could consider affirmation at town meeting through a warrant article, or, you know, just, it's not to make it definitive that we are definitely and have already concluded that that's where we're
What
going.
if we just said and seek affirmation in advance of 2027 annual town meeting? And then we can do the work, and then we say, based on that, we can say, look, you know, there's a,
Whether we want to put it on the warrant or not, yeah.
you could just say,
that
and
would
seek
work.
affirmation in advance of the 2027 annual town meeting. Strike through a warrant article.
Okay.
And then,
You're taking out affirmation, right, or not? Seeking,
and seek, what would the word be? Feedback?
your comment was about not presupposing.
Okay.
the
And
outcome.
and seek community input?
And I think I liked your approach, because you're saying, hey, we got to just revisit it. We don't know, but these
Yep.
are the things, and there's a budgetary constraint, but there's also a lot of people in the community who may, you know, want this, but we're going to talk
Yeah.
about it. We're just going to bring it up and talk about it.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion here. Rebecca, how about I sign you the being champion of this? And we can change goals along the way, Israel, you know? So how about, can I go ahead and, I think you are CPC, right?
Yep.
There you go. Can I put your name against that one? And we reinterpret as you see fit along the way. Yeah?
Can we just make it so that it's not definitive, that we have a
Sure.
warrant article? Okay,
There's
as long as
no-
we do that, then I'm
That's
good.
not, we're not skating toward the
Okay.
warrant article anymore, for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
So, do we have actual language? What is it now?
Seek affirmation in advance of the annual town meeting, strike through a warrant article.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
You want to?
And then, what's that?
Well, I think the other party that is interested would be FinCom, and I know, I see.
Does Scott want to be the champion for this one?
What's that?
Maybe you want to be the champion for this one.
Well, I brought it up, and so, I mean, I just want to make sure, you know, I'm a little more, I approach it a little more from a budget standpoint
Yeah.
than, so,
You do have the, I think, probably better understanding of the intricacies of how.
yeah,
it
I'd
plays
like to
out,
keep
but-
this one.
You wanna-
And I'll work with
Yeah.
Rebecca. I mean, I just want to, I'm fairly objective about it in terms of, I'm not opposed to it, but I think it's important that we kind of objectively opt in or do something
Right.
So that it just doesn't become this
Consciously.
recurring hidden cost, not hidden cost, that's not the right word.
It's
but-
not hidden, but you're right. I hear you.
And I do think, again, with some of the increases coming up with the building projects, there's going to be some attention. So putting the feelers out now is not a bad thing
Right.
as we get into some of the.
Okay, shared services.
Did we have the final wording though?
If I could recommend to the chair, we have several guests for the 9/10, including
Right, that's what I
including
was-
council who I love, but we're paying.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I was trying to get through. Okay, we still have a number of goals here. We'll come back to this. Let's see. Okay, how about, let's look at item 10, Bog House Path Forward. We have legal counsel on. Thank you for joining us. And we have Julie.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Hello.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
So Tom is here, and Jenny's been helping with the process that is required for this. It is a significant process, and I know that this was discussed at your last meeting, but we wanted to make sure that we had a definitive and clear path forward for this phase of the project, and affirm that, answer any questions you have. I know our planning board chair is here as well, myself, Julie, and town council for any questions you have. So to quickly summarize the options, which can be informed by as much detail as you want, the concept of fully designing this project and then putting it out for bid would use the CPA funds that was required, and would add some hurdles, such as a special act legislation and requiring prevailing wage, which could increase the cost of the project. The other option would be to just put it out to bid, and the downside of that, with a lot more detail, is less control over the process. And the reason why, at least I have been talking to about control in this process, is there are a lot of stakeholders who care a lot about the details of this project. So it would seem fitting that Carlisle would add more detail to the process, or at least put it out that way. But again, the downside of that is if it increased to a place where you didn't get a bidder, or it was too costly, required town investment, then you would lose the $200,000 you put into the design. So I think that is the risk, is the design costs in this estimate. And I'm just summarizing this so you can start the conversation. I know there are many voices in this project.
You might consider asking some of the voices.
Right,
who
do we
wants
have
to-
voices in the room who want to weigh in on any of this?
I see the planning. You just introduce yourself.
Addie Grady, 75 Hill, Chair of the Planning Board.
You're welcome to come to the table so everyone can hear you.
I like being in the back of the room. It's refreshing.
I don't know if we can
Can the
pick
folks
you up,
online
though.
hear?
I'm not sure they
Alright.
can hear you online.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Affordable housing generally requires subsidy, almost all the time. And prevailing wage adding to cost is an area where developers often seek additional subsidy to cover these types of costs. From my perspective, continuing on with the design process and being deliberate about how we think about what's important to the town in the design process will result in something that isn't wasted money in getting to a place where there's a potentially actionable plan that, while it may require more subsidy, is the outcome that the town is more likely to accept as the path forward for preserving this important building and property. It's rarely black and white in these processes where it's either X or Y. You know, we're kind of painted into a corner at the moment for X or Y in terms of pursuing a town-controlled design that requires prevailing wage versus pursuing something much more open-ended that may not. We're painted in that corner right now partly because of the moment we find ourselves in, where we're getting different advice from Mass Housing Partnership than we might have gotten 6 months ago or a year ago. We are a couple years away from getting our Article 97 land transfer, right? So time changes things in this business, and my perspective is that continuing on this path, given that the alternatives to preserving this building and this site are minimal, non-existent, I don't think it's time wasted, and I don't think it's dollars wasted. Speaking on my behalf, not the planning board.
And folks on the phone? Julie?
I mean, I'm here to implement whatever policy direction you want to take. I do think, just given the number of stakeholders that I've spoken to about this project, staying the course makes sense in my opinion, but, you know, I can pivot if needed.
Julie, I think, reached out to you, and I'm putting you on the spot now, but I was curious about, because it is kind of set up as this decision of two things, and I was wondering, you know, if there's some more examples of what that decision-making process looks like because I think, and I use the word triggers, or like if we started down one path and, you know, we started prescriptively requiring this, and then we were told, well, you can't do that anymore. I was curious, like, what would this look like? What are those risks, you know, of the various pathways?
So I might want to defer to town council on this one, but as I understand it, if we continue down the path we're on and we don't get a bid that we would accept, we can pull back and, you know, try to do it in a less prescriptive way. And then if we go the other route where we like cede some control and put the RFP out sooner, we might need to look at things like a historic preservation restriction for the building to achieve some of the goals of the historical commission. So we might want to assert control in other ways.
Right.
Up front.
And that was kind of my question. If you put a bunch of parameters on this, and I think maybe this came up last time and I didn't fully understand it, but if you put enough parameters and you're saying we're taking the approach where we're just going to let anyone who wants to be a developer and come and you know, do this, but we put those parameters, I thought that there was an issue with that if we put too many on, we can no longer consider it that type of project. Is that right? Or maybe that's a question for Tom or you.
I think both. I think it's right, and I think it's a question for Tom.
Well played.
Okay, so I'll start, but Jenny's going to jump in because she knows this better. But good evening, everybody. Tom Harrington, Town Council. Nice to see you all. So if this were a lease project, right, if the town were going to lease the land to a developer, you know, 99-year lease type of thing, we would say this is absolutely a public building project, and a public building project requires that the town go out to bid and that the town pay prevailing wage. That's not the plan here. The plan here is to sell the land. So in selling the land, there is currently no case that says if you sell the land, it's a public bidding project or would require prevailing wage. But what we're hearing from MHP, who gets to talk to the Attorney General's bid unit, and sadly we no longer get to talk to the Attorney General's bid unit, what we're hearing from them is that they believe even a project that's for sale, that where you're kind of providing heavy design and a lot of instruction, they believe that rises to the level of a public building project. So I think I think you're on the path right now where you're into design, and you're going to want to come up with a specific design, because that seems to be what the stakeholders are all looking for, which is fine. So going down that path, it's possible that it's a public bidding project, and it's likely that we'll have to pay prevailing wage. We can seek a special act to avoid the public bidding process of the construction. Lots of towns have them for affordable housing projects, but you do have to concede paying prevailing wages as part of that special act. So we can go down that route. If we go down that route and you don't get the bids that you want to get, you can always rebid and tell the public, we're not prescribing what you need to build. We're just going to prescribe the number of units that we want and the type of units that we want, and let you figure it out from there. Jenny, is that fair?
Yeah, you got it.
Nailed it.
And, I would just add, the project is already burdened by a special act. So, one thing that makes some communities feel like, that option is daunting is the fact that it's going to delay things. But I mean, you're already strapped into an Article 97 process, which is likely to take longer. So,
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Travis?
Yeah, yes, to better understand those, the decision points here. That's what I was trying to get at. And if there's a way around it, I just by way of context, in the prior select board, which I realize is not the current select board, but the moved this Bog House project forward or supported it with the understanding that there wouldn't, because there was a lot of community input, and we talked about potentially, having affordable housing and doing it as a complete town-owned project. And as we moved further in that direction, it became apparent that it was going to be a expensive project, though it has a lot of benefits with the historic nature, the use. I mean, there's all these constituencies that are weighing in, but it was going to be very expensive for the small number of units. And I think that the prior select board had said if there's a way to do this without having as much town cost town taxpayer money put into this, that was a better approach. So we went down this road, and that's kind of where we are at this point. I'm trying to summarize that.
Yeah, and I'll say those were all reasonable decisions at the time. And I will say honestly that up until 2 months ago, we were comfortable of the idea of selling the property was going to avoid the public bid and the prevailing wage. And there is no case that tells us that we have to do that, right? So this is very conservative advice that's based upon a conversation we had with Julie and MHP, where they're saying that the Attorney General's bid unit, and if there's something wrong with the procurement, people file bid protests and it goes to the Attorney General's bid unit. What they're telling us is that the bid unit is telling them they're going to start looking at projects that are for sale as public construction too. So that's new news, and it's not, it's on their part, it's a conservative approach. Our advice is conservative based upon that approach, but they don't have any case law that supports that analysis.
So it sounds
But
like
also-
in any event, we're out for a protracted schedule, but the original aim here was affordable housing. What is the path to maintain at least some semblance of being affordable in all of this?
I think you could do that with, either a design intensive prevailing wage project that gets a special act that helps, remove some of the procurement hurdles, or a trimmed down, RFP that says we're going to sell this to somebody who's going to develop it for affordable housing. That's not so much the issue here. It's really the heavy hand in design and the fact that the public funding that goes into this project is another factor that weighs against it being a public construction project. So between CPC funds and the fact that, you're unlikely to be selling this for fair market value, those things would also tip in favor of it being a public construction project rather than, a straight property disposition.
Okay. Addie?
I think it's important to put it in the context of order of magnitude of additional costs that we're talking about here. We have a fire station budget that's how many millions of dollars?
17.
Right, and we have a DPW building that's
14.
We're talking about 4 units.
Yeah.
Right, where prevailing wage adds 20% to the cost.
Yeah.
So if they're $500,000 each and we're adding 20% to that cost, then we're talking about $400,000. And by the way, if we get down the road with this design and we take it out to the market and the market can't make sense of a way to produce this housing in a way that attracts a bidder, we can dial back and we can try again. We don't have to accept a bid. If we don't do any design, we don't go anywhere. We just speculate about what might be.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking about doing the design just to renovate the exterior of the building and then wait to figure out in the future, you guys have no idea what building I'm talking about, what might be the use that falls into that building, right? I think not doing this process hurts us more than it helps us. Speaking on my own behalf, not the landlord.
So not doing it was not an option. It was.
No, I mean the design, because
Oh.
what Ryan posited was we're spending $200,000 on the design process. Should we spend $200,000 and waste it if it turns out that we actually have to dial back and just go to the market with a, here's a site, tell us what you want to do, market, kind of RFP.
This all presupposes the land swap is approved in November,
Sure.
which requires a 2/3 vote. And if anyone's paying attention right now, a lot of questions are popping into their head about what might happen now. So I guess part of my question is how much are we into this before we get to November and have that vote? Because if the land swap isn't approved, we're back to,
It's appraisals to get to that point.
what do you mean?
That's the amount of money that needs to be spent is on appraisals.
I mean, so when does but you're gonna have to show people what they're supporting, so you need some semblance of a design that they have confidence that if we do this, they're not gonna put up some ugly, modern, affordable housing unit on the Cranberry Bog, right?
Right, but my point is just that step one is, what does the land swap look like? Are we talking about 2 acres of the Bog House for all of Conant land? Or are we talking about 2 acres for 2 acres, right? So that's step one.
That's step one, but
And that's the
people,
appraisal.
are gonna vote on that based on what their expectation is for the final product.
But knowing what that is can inform making the decisions to spend the money on the next, not that we're asking people to, we would be asking people to vote yes or no, not knowing what the final product is, but having the insight of those appraisals so we can understand what the land swap would actually entail before you spend the money on intensive design to be able to put before folks.
I guess how
what
much
their-
money is being spent on the design to get to November?
Are we talking about this November?
Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine it's much. Julie?
Yeah, so we're spending some money on site planning so we can figure out what the carve out of the Bog House needs to be. We'd spend some money on appraisals, and then we also need to have Alta surveys of both properties, the carve out and the replacement land.
So what's your cash flow look like for the fall?
I'd have to look at my spreadsheet a little more closely, but maybe think about this for a second. 80,000, maybe.
I just think if we decide to proceed as planned, there's a new level of uncertainty thrown into this project that I think is gonna be a challenge for November to get the land swap approved. Because people will hear, well, down the road, we could decide to not prescribe the design, and then we can do this land swap, and they could do a switcheroo. These are all things that I think it's already, I think, a challenging vote for November, and I think all of this uncertainty feeds more potential concerns, so we need to think about how we're gonna answer those questions, or at least answer them with as much information as we can. Because I think that's gonna be a challenge. I don't know, that's just my
I
sense
think you
of it.
frame it in the context of what are the alternatives.
I also think that's one of the reasons why we're trying to get you to be definitive tonight, because I do think that reduces the uncertainty if you can say what the process is gonna be.
But you also said we could decide later down the road not to be as prescriptive. You get to the end, you don't like the bids, you can pull back and say, build what you want.
Tom, can we tie, or Jenny, can we tie the land swap vote to a particular outcome? Meaning it can be taken back if process doesn't go the way it's described?
So the answer is probably yes. We can certainly condition things as part of the vote, but we need to be presenting the state with a clear package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I see your point.
I
Can
do
I ask
think
a
it's
question?
important to remember that the land swap is going to be required for any use of the bog house that's not related to agriculture.
Okay. Addie?
Just a question to you, Tom. It's important to note that there's still a zoning aspect of this that enables the town to have a degree of control over what actually gets permitted.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a question I would have for you is, when you award a bid through an RFP process
Mm-hmm.
in advance of a zoning process, to what extent can you then condition I'm assuming this is a comp permit through a friendly 40B, and there's conditions to approval that you can implement and impose through that comprehensive permit. Feels like there's a gray area there between what you award based on what they promise in their RFP response versus what they agree to and commit to through a comp permit process.
There could be.
And so, is there a degree of certainty that the town can have around the priorities related to trails and access, historic preservation, affordable, obviously comp permit process only requires 25%. Is there a degree of control slash certainty that the town can have through the permitting process that they might not be able to have through the RFP process?
So Jenny, I'm interested in your thoughts. I think they can do it through the RFP process. I think you can prescribe exactly what you want, and if you don't get what you want,
I'm talking about the path that doesn't involve prevailing wage.
Oh. Mm. I think a path that doesn't involve prevailing wage is selling the property as is, and they're taking, their shot at. I mean,
As is with no zoning, with no prospect of a friendly 40B?
Well, I mean, there's always a prospect of a friendly 40B, but of course, the select board can't make any promises. about what the permitting will be. Was part of the design with the design proposal with the special act to take it through permitting?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Addie,
I
what
mean,
if we, yeah, I'm sorry. What if we created zoning for this particular parcel?
That was my follow-on thought, right?
oh, yeah, yeah.
You zone it before you sell it, and the zoning dictates what you can and can't do there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then it's not, then you're selling it as is, but subject to a zoning
Bylaw.
bylaw that already
Yes.
governs it.
How specific can you be with zoning?
You can get pretty
Very
specific.
specific, okay.
Yeah. Keep the bog house?
Okay, that sounds like a doable path.
It is, but I do think you'd have to answer questions during that bylaw of what it's gonna look like.
Absolutely, and you have to spend the money on the design to get there, for
Yeah.
sure.
So,
You're back to the-
so then we're back to these two paths. Addie, which one are you saying you guys would endorse?
Spend the money.
Spend the money.
No, what I endorse. What I endorse. It's CPC dollars, you guys. It's CPA
Yes.
funds. We're not
Yes,
spending
yes.
budget.
No, right.
It's allocated dollars.
This money comes from somewhere, but you're.
I
you
would
have a
be in
big
favor of
point
that. I don't
of
see a
the
motion
It's not like it
Context.
goes back,
There's no motion.
back to the
No.
taxpayers.
No.
You're right.
Do you have your answer?
There's no path forward without us having control, because there's no way the town would approve the land swap or anything else if they thought there's a chance someone could just take the land and build whatever they want, whatever site plan they want. There's no way.
Even
They
if it was
would-
1% chance it won't work.
No,
Yeah.
no, and it's going to be hard enough, even if you can design it and show exactly it's to the nail head. There's going to be a lot of people with a lot of different ideas on this. So there's no path. I don't think there's a practical path without going the route of design. And then we have to provide confidence that we will control the design and that we won't pull back and just say, well, we can't, this doesn't work with prevailing wage, so we'll just give it away. We'll just take RFP bids now. So we have
But
to
you-
provide
but
some
you-
assurance.
But you could pull back and ask for the bids, and if you don't get what you want, you
just
don't
don't
have to
award it.
accept any of them.
That's correct, right.
So it's an I see it as kind of an iterative process where
This is
you
also
go
a
for what
political
you
process
want.
too. Like the
Sure.
governors, everyone's pushing affordable housing. Look at this lovely cranberry bog house. Like you're
Hence my
bid-
comments about subsidy in the very beginning.
Right.
it's like
You're gonna
you gotta
subsidize.
get some eyes on this thing, and like some employees giving you advice. It's like no. Just-
So the likelihood of this project going to the next version of this board, although I think it's only one member up, and the fact that it's gonna be heavily staff-driven, we would like to make sure
You're on the right path.
that you are on board for this path, which is why we're trying to confirm it tonight. And if you are, we'll continue, and that doesn't mean you can't change your mind, but that this is a select board-driven process.
So is everyone okay with spending the CPC funds to go get this thing bid out?
Well, I'm okay with spending the funds to get
Design,
to November.
yeah.
Can I ask why this is a select board decision when I don't mean to be provocative.
No, I don't know either. I don't know either.
But the trust proposed a plan that the town approved through the CPA warrant articles to spend the money to head down this path. Why do you need this select board to confirm that we would do that?
I think Ryan was looking for guidance on the approach, is the way you positioned it to us, right? You could do this.
Well, the people executing this are fireable by you, so we're looking to make sure
This is a CYA meeting.
that we're doing what you want and that this is your process. So yes, you could say it's not our issue, and then as staff, we're gonna say, then we're gonna back off until it's more clear. And if the CHT is That's my not well-formed thought.
Okay.
I'm good getting to November. I don't want anyone to underestimate the challenge and the increased challenge now of getting the November article, that land swap approved, because there is a lot of, a 2/3 vote is tough on a lot of things, and on this one in particular, especially coming off of last year, and everyone's got a different idea of what, especially like the site plan, all this stuff. Everyone's got a different idea of what that looks like. So we need to give people as much confidence as we can with all the questions swirling that what the vision is, because it's not just about appraisals and land swaps. They're voting on the project.
I would argue that if it fails, it doesn't mean the project is dead. It means that the project hasn't been well enough defined.
Okay.
Well, we can cross that bridge when we get there.
Could be.
Can I try something? Scott, see if this helps you.
Yeah.
Jenny, be ready to jump in. So the land swap is, right, so that's just taking, it's all town land. We're just taking, town land that's general government and turning it into Article 97 and taking land that's Article 97 and turning it into, I say general government, I should have said general municipal, right? So that's all town land. We're switching the purpose of the town land, but it's still town land. We haven't yet voted to sell
Right.
the property. So when it comes time to get a town meeting vote to sell the property, that we can condition. To say like, so if we go through a design process and we like the design process, we can say, we'll sell it if we can find a bidder who's willing to construct this. And if not, and we're gonna do this second phase where we're just gonna put it out and see what we get, then we can tell town meeting, this vote only allows us to do it for what we designed. If this fails, then we'd have to come back to town meeting for another vote to sell it in a different manner.
And there's also the zoning path that could also intervene into this.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you can layer this to give yourself the protection that you want.
That's pretty clear.
Better get more than, 4 minutes from Wayne for this presentation. Or whatever it is.
It's November. Nobody pays attention anyway. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
We'll pay
Okay.
attention,
Brian,
right?
what else did you need on this topic?
That's
Do
it.
you need a vote, or is that?
There's no vote queued up, but
My much better formed thought was, as chief procurement officer, I wanted to make sure that the procurement of this was clear.
yes.
And then for the warrant process and the fall town meeting process, I wanted to make sure that the select board understood what they were doing if they put anything on the warrant. And I think that is tied to the money, and it's just much easier if everybody agrees to how to do it. Is better formed.
Sorry, I don't remind you.
No, and there was no motion or vote in the
No.
packet, so it's not like we're voting on it.
Okay.
Great.
I think we're
You done with me?
done. I
Thank you
think
for
we're done with
coming
that
in.
topic. And the only thing left on the agenda is a revisit of the last few goals.
Are we good with the town council?
Good.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jenny.
Do I have that right?
Julie.
Thank you,
Thank
Tom
you.
and Jenny.
Thank you, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you,
Okay.
Maureen.
It's too complicated.
Where did we leave off? Shared services, right?
Yep.
Okay, continue to pursue shared services. That's been brilliant. Who wants to champion that one?
Can Ryan champion one?
I know he's doing a great job on that one. I don't feel like that one
I
needs
mean, shared
anybody.
services kind of cuts across wherever.
Everyone, yeah.
So maybe
We
that
won't-
one.
maybe
is
we just won't leave that open.
Yeah, because it depends on where you find it. Like if it ends up being, if the dispatch thing, that would be through
Lease.
communications, like.
Oh.
So.
Okay, we're gonna leave that one open then. Long-term building, capital planning, and debt service mitigation.
What about vocational education, financial planning?
That's,
Oh,
that would be.
that
me.
would be Scott, right?
The other one would be FinCom, so that would probably be you, Christine.
Yeah.
For the long-term building, capital
Yeah.
planning, yeah. Okay, and then under connectivity and access, we have to advance digital capabilities. This is the one where we are gonna maximize digital access to public records, forms, bills, scheduling, and other routine transactions. Establish an expectation for digital accessibility across departments. Blah, blah, blah. We're recognizing some processes are governed by state law. Okay. Any sponsors on that one?
I mean, some of this is more.
More staff oriented.
Yeah, more staff.
Like this one and even the next one.
The
like,
road, pathway, culverts.
Pursuing grants, like, I don't know that any one of us is like,
Gonna shepherd that one through, right? Okay.
I guess the sidewalks, that would be safety committee, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Safety, yeah.
Is that you?
That's me, I can do that one.
Alright.
Okay.
It's just.
So
I'm
this.
trails too, so.
The roads, pathways, culverts, did we have, let me look at the text of that. Did that also involve, it also is safety infrastructure, and then the complete streets is sidewalks. I'm gonna put you, Dave, for those two, okay?
Yep.
Okay. And then sustainable land management.
I think that's all of us to
Yeah.
kind of work on.
I'm the liaison to
So the
Conscom, and so,
You got your hands full.
And I'm ESC, right? So
You're right.
it would be the two of us.
Yeah.
but, oh, yeah.
We're gonna,
Well, that's a larger effort, but I think just through being the liaison, you have to be the kind of point person.
Okay. Travis, I only have you down for one, just so you know. Municipal vulnerability preparedness and waste reduction.
is that you?
No, I'm good with one.
Let's, transfer station.
I'm TSAC, so.
Yeah, that's you.
I'll go ahead and, somehow I came out of this with 4.
I missed-
Okay. That's probably the way it shakes out, though, really, that is.
I think we're all going to work towards this. It's just
Yeah.
as helpful to direct staff as to what our priorities are.
Right. Well, when we were doing, okay, so the idea is we're gonna do a quarterly update on this. It'd be great to have someone who can give a report out instead of all of us just kind of looking around looking dumb, so.
Okay.
That would be the ideal state. Okay, anything else on goals?
For the environmental stewardship, I
Yep.
recommend taking out the identified parcels. So it says the board will support long-term management for individual parcels, and then take out the rest, including the Cranberry Bog, Vanda Davis, Fox Hill, and other popular parcels.
Right, let's not be so specific. Man, we got really in-depth on some of these goals. So, yeah, so the board will support long-term management planning for individual parcels. Period. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, individual parcel, period, yeah.
Okay. Anything else on goals then? Do we have a motion on that?
We have
We've
to,
seen
We have
it,
to
and I'd
vote those
like
in, right? Or you want, do
Vote
we need
to
to see the
adopt?
final pending edits? No, or we want to see it one more time?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I think the edits weren't that substantial, so I'm comfortable voting
Yeah.
with the edits we've made tonight.
Okay.
Language.
There's a motion on page 39 of 122.
I got it.
I move to adopt the fiscal year 2027 select board goals as amended, as included in the packet and amended during the meeting.
Second.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes?
All right.
Okay.
We have goals.
Good to go. Finally, yeah, we're almost August. We have our goals. Okay, liaison reports is the only other item, and community input, is that right?
Well, lead town manager report.
TA report. We haven't done
report.
that yet. I have, yep, okay.
Rapport.
Ryan.
You get
All
2
right,
minutes?
here's my town administrator
Get one
report for
breath.
July 28th, 2026. Under the human resources report, which Aubrey's here, so she can chime in if I'm getting this wrong, but we're excited to share that we appointed Gordon Landell. A couple interesting things about Gordon. He's a retired U.S. Army Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel with more than 26 years of military experience and a flight instructor who wants to become a police officer. He's currently in the academy, and because of the way he's being funded into the academy, he will become our employee once he's finished, which is a good deal for us, and he gets sponsored while he's in the academy, so a good deal for him. So we're excited to have him on board, and we'll bring him in when he's done his training.
Yeah. He's got a great background.
Yeah, he does.
Refined, yeah.
He does. And Aubrey and I will be going to the Board of Health meeting tomorrow. That might be of interest to you. Following the vacancy in the director role, we've been invited to come speak to them about what that might look like. We're going to talk about shared administrative support and a path forward for the director position. We've talked to a couple Board of Health members about this, and we expect it'll go well and it'll be a fruitful conversation. So we're doing that tomorrow, and hopefully can help assist them with their appointment process for their employees. And then Aubrey has been working with our new interim school superintendent on HR policy. I've met with him a couple times on capital investments at the school, the sharing of maintenance services. So a lot of collaboration there. So far, so good. Easy to be a superintendent in the summer, but a lot to learn in a couple months. So working well with Brad, and it's been great to get to know him. In terms of department updates and information, as you know, the regional dispatch grant was denied by the state 911 development grant because of competitiveness. We met as a group, meaning all of the town officials and public safety officials that were involved in the original grant process, to see if a feasibility study is possible with UMass. The good part about this is the Collins Center offers the service for free, but we would need to identify whether or not their output would be convincing to the two communities. So they want to hear what the Collins Center has to offer, and then we'll bring that to you to see if that's something you're interested in. If you're not, we'd wait for the next state 911 development grant cycle for that investigation, unless there was a push or direction to spend money. But these feasibility studies can be more than $50,000, so not an insignificant investment. Our custodial services bid was awarded a 3-year contract to Pro City out of Manchester, New Hampshire. All Pro did a great job for us in the interim providing custodial services, but we are going with the lowest and most responsible bidder, Pro City. This new hybrid model, it looks to improve retention and reduce costs. So if there is less costs, they provide their own backup if there's any issue, and as a contract, we have a lot of control over the process. There is no custodians who are currently employed that will be replaced by a contract. The contract states that if there's a vacancy, we would consider adding the agency service. When we did try to hire custodial services in the past, we were very, very unsuccessful, often leaving positions open for months. So this is it's a win-win for the town. And again, not replacing any employees, just slowly integrating the contract as vacancies exist. Very excited to tell you that the Goddess of Liberty is ready for her cleaning. That'll likely happen in August. We do expect some fanfare during this event. It's a very popular monument. We're going to try and do some video. There'll be a police detail to control traffic, and I'm sure there'll be please be safe as you're going through the Rotary, even as you see the monument being cleaned. Something you need to act on tonight. For our Climate Leaders Grant, we are seeking $1 million from the Department of Energy Resources to replace HVAC units on the Robbins and Grant buildings. This aligns with the town's decarbonization roadmap, and it is a process that's been heavily stewarded by the MFC and the Facilities Department. The last thing we need is a letter from you endorsing the application. So if you're willing to consider that, please vote now.
So I move to support Carlisle's application to the Climate Leaders Decarbonization Accelerator Grant to fund HVAC upgrades at the Robbins and Grant buildings.
Second. I thought this was my job tonight.
Yeah, that's great. On it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any discussion or deliberation? Okay, let's go ahead and do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any no votes? Okay.
Another item that needs your attention is your EV charging stations. A variable has come up with these charging stations. The town prepaid for 5 years of service on these poles, and that 5-year period is up. So the cost for this, as analyzed by Sarah, who's still online here to answer any questions you have about this, it increases our cost to the point where we would need a decision. So $600 versus $2,100. Assuming the select board is still requiring these chargers to operate at no cost to the town, which is a direction that I had received early on in my tenure here, both Sarah, myself, and the ESC are recommending the following, which is attached in a memorandum to you. So first, switching to the G1 demand rate from the G1 non-demand rate. This will increase charging speed and maybe attract more revenue. Something to test, because that demand does intentionally lower costs, but we also think that it pushes some people away. The ratings are not great on ChargePoint. Take one of the chargers offline. This will reduce the operating costs for that, and it will allow us to, again, assess demand versus cost, and then reevaluate in January to determine if a second charger should be removed. Again, this is assuming that the town does not want to invest in keeping these chargers going at some cost. So we think this is the best path forward for continuing to assess how this is going to work.
I just had, Sarah, a nice memo on this. I just have one question. If you do this, can you put them back online in the future? Or is it's not a one and done forever, right?
Yeah, I think taking it offline would be mostly an adjustment with the software, unless we really wanted to remove the equipment. But at least in my mind, what I mean by taking it offline was basically just turning the charger off.
Okay.
So that it doesn't, people can't charge from it or find it, when they use the ChargePoint app or one of the other EV charging apps.
Yeah, but if we found it was, we wanted to put it back on, we can change it. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Normally you don't vote on these things the night of. We've tried to provide information, but we do need direction. As of right now, you would be running a deficit, and we would need to find funding for it, and we would. But that would be counter to previous guidance. So, ready to vote tonight? Not, we'll.
We'll do a vote, but just a tiny exploratory conversation. Do we have any idea as to why the utilization appears to be so extremely low? Is it charging it too slow, locations not attractive?
I can
we don't
speak
know.
to some of this if that's helpful.
Yeah.
And I see Eric is approaching, which is great. Essentially, it's kind of a long and bumpy history with figuring out what the best price point is to attract people to charge. So when I started, the price was 65 cents per kilowatt hour, which is just way above what anybody would pay charging at home.
Right.
And that was because of the demand charge. So one of the switches in the memo that I discuss is switching from that demand rate structure to the non-demand.
Right.
And that would free us from having to worry about getting hit with a demand charge. And that has slowed having the demand charge as we've had, or the threat of the demand charge, prompted them to, the folks who were configuring the chargers at the beginning of this 5-year period, to essentially, you could use the word throttle or cap the amount of power available. So it basically just slows down the charging the more cars that get plugged in. So like the most power that could be drawn at one time is 9.9 kilowatts. And people didn't love that because they're also what are called level 2 chargers. And as level 3 chargers, which are super fast, have become more and more common, people are less inclined to sit around for several hours while their car charges. So that's part of it. I think location also plays a role. Since there's not a lot of, commercial activity in Carlisle town center, there's not a lot of reasons that someone from out of town would be, parking in the school parking lot unless they were attending an event. And so we found that when we lowered the price, this was probably 2 years ago at this point, we lowered the price to like the market or the average in the area, which was 30 cents per kilowatt hour. And we did see an increase in charging based on that, mostly from school staff. That's pretty much the most consistent user group. But even then, that's just a handful of when I say handful, I think it's truly between 3 and 5 people. So I think it's a combination of a lot of different factors that we have kind of tested from different angles to see if we can increase the income from the chargers to break even. And because we did the whole prepaid contract, right now we're okay, but come September 5th when that contract ends, we're currently not taking in enough to pay for those costs if we have business as usual.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Eric, did you want to say something?
Yeah, there's just a couple things. You had a bunch of different questions that you had asked. Just to clarify, the revenue that the 600 per year is actually the income. That's revenue less the cost of electricity. So it is used a lot more than
Oh, okay.
So that's just one clarification there. But that is the important number because that's the money that would be available to cover these communication charges for ChargePoint. And that's still a big lift. So we have to charge the cost of electricity plus more to cover that. Going away from the demand charge is absolutely critical because, there's tons of reviews on ChargePoint that say, when you're throttled, you're getting 1.6 kilowatts, which is, just to put it in perspective, an hour of charging gets you 6 miles.
Yeah, that's nothing.
It's
1.6.
So it's very little. I think that's important. So that's almost a given. We do that. The price of electricity goes up a little bit, but the price elasticity of demand isn't that, strong. I think that's not going to affect people's ability to or desire to use it. The target really are the school teachers and the staff. That really is people going through town. It's a nice thing. Carlisle has these chargers. We're a climate leader. We're a municipality that's leading by example. But the target is really staff, teachers, town residents that don't have their own chargers, and that's a small number. So it's really the town staff and the teachers that are the bigger target for it. So the school is a good enough location for that in general. I don't think that's really a problem. One of the questions you asked, are we actually trying to generate income from this? Not really. We're happy to break even. So that's the critical path that Sarah is describing. Were there other questions? I was trying to remember if I got most of what you had asked.
I think that's pretty much everything. Does anyone have any questions? Are we ready for a vote?
So if we take 2 offline, we have 2 ports, so that's 2 cars that get charged.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
each charger has 2 ports, right? So there's a total of 6 cars that can be charged at one time. So yeah, I think that the strategy is take 1 charger, so take 2 ports off, which takes,
But we have 2 options, right? 1 charger or 2 options, or 2 chargers off.
Well,
We're gonna
it's
take one offline and test it. And
Oh,
then
okay.
maybe the next step would be to take 2 offline.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Are we ready to vote on this? Okay. Can we get a motion?
We have
There's no motion for this.
There is no motion for this one.
You don't, but the motion would be to accept the recommendations,
From the
the
ESC.
memo, and from the ESC.
So moved. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I move that we accept the recommendations provided by the ESC tonight in the memo included in the packet, including taking 1 charger offline and switching to G1 non-demand rate and release power supply cap.
Second.
You're on it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do a voice
I'll let you do
vote.
the last one.
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. I'll have a better thank you tomorrow when it's not so late. All right. For capital project updates, the elevator project is moving. The architect is speaking with the construction company. I know that because I get all the emails, and we're working through. It's just a reminder that town hall will see some disruption when the town hall work starts, and that's likely in the fall. The annual road maintenance project will begin in a month or so. The contract was signed tonight. a $738,339 contract that includes paving on Heald Pope Southwest Judy Farm, the drainage leading to Audubon Lane, North Road, Indian Hill Road, and Autumn Lane. And then we have a note here that says we're going to be holding your annual road maintenance hearing and plan update in September for next year. So we're already thinking about next year. We did receive our Chapter 90 allotment this week. So the $300 million bill that was passed, which nets us about $430,000, did come in, and we have it. So that always feels good. The connected Carlisle sidewalk project is about 3 weeks away from surveying being complete and design starting. Also of note here, Representative Cataldo, as I told you last time, with help from Member Thomas, was able to include a $200K bond earmark request in the House version of the Economic Development Bill. That hasn't passed yet, so if you like to send letters, please send one about that. We could use that $200K to help gap the project. The other thing you will see is a CPC request for ADA funding in the town meeting cycle, which I am working on submitting. Some CPS projects that procurement process has begun for is the retaining wall that is broken. If you've been to the school, that is being supported by a state earmark thanks to Senator Barrett's office. The main stairway repair will go out to bid this week. That's the stairway that leads to the Burley Auditorium, not the Corey Auditorium. Classroom flooring, that project from the capital plan, and then the facilities garage doors. So we'll be reporting on all of that to you. For your building construction projects, the police station continues to march along. We've asked that they continue to speed through the first floor work, as that's really disrupting our officers, but more particularly our dispatchers, who have to both balance the outdoor facilities and manning the services. So thank you to all the employees for dealing with the renovations, but of course it'll be worth it when it's complete. Still a couple months behind schedule. We should have a final determination on that in the next couple weeks. Fire station renovation, you got a pretty good update tonight. Still looking for you to provide input on what you need to see to feel comfortable that project's moving forward the way that you would like it. And of course, we will make sure that it is. The DPW renovation, you will be reviewing a contract from Helene Carl Architects, or HKA. They'll bring that document to you. We'll bring that to you at your next meeting. And then the DPW committee, led by Member Snell here, Vice Chair Snell, sorry. He'll provide you with an update. And the committee went to Hudson this week to view a similar project. I enjoyed the visit, and it was very productive and able to see a lot of the way the architect thinks about these projects and what would be incorporated and what we do and do not need. In terms of the library renovation, again, just letting people know that 1 River Street is where the library is. I was able to attend their ribbon cutting ceremony, which was fun. A few of us with some scissors and a ribbon, and it was nice. And then people came inside, so that was great. I know that I thought when they were talking about a temporary space that it would be tiny and maybe difficult. It's not. It's almost full service. The staff has plenty of room, and the library is fully functional. They had an event or a program that night, so the library is great. They're run by a great department head, and you should go check out the temporary library because it is fully functional. In terms of employee recognition, you saw her tonight, Town Clerk Ashley Cody and Assistant Town Clerk Melissa Donish have successfully scanned and uploaded all the town reports dating back to 1854, which is going to
That's cool, by the way.
increase.
I read it.
I read a couple
I
of
read
them.
them too. I was fascinated.
Highland was still an issue. No.
So this is being fed into our AI platform, right, for much quicker research. A lot of this is, who was town clerk in whatever year. It can spit it out, or we can go find that document and that source. So the town reports are great. That was a lot of work. You have to cut out the pages, right, scan them as you can imagine, reassemble them, and put them back into storage without ruining the document. So that team worked really hard, and no one is surprised by that because you've seen them in action.
Ryan, just quickly, was that the thing we voted on?
We funded.
The funded?
14K.
Yeah, is that?
No.
Was that separate?
No.
No, that's more of the preserved vital records. This is a side project they've been working on.
Oh.
And if it was up to Ashley and the team, everything will be digitized there, and we'll have a lot more access to these records, which is great, and stored properly. She is an archivist, so she cares a lot about it, and we're not allowed to touch anything, which is how it should be. I also want to recognize Officer Kukos and K9 Athena. They were brought to a high-stakes situation with a resident from Chelmsford who's suffering from Alzheimer's who was missing. They didn't provide any of the work, but they responded quickly and provided the backup that allowed this resident to be found immediately, and just showcased our mutual aid and our ability to provide resources quickly, and the talent. So Athena's not just cute, she's useful. And Officer Kukos is professional and does a great job providing service here and elsewhere. And this was recognized by the Chelmsford chief, who sent a letter to our chief just thanking them for Carlisle's continued mutual aid and professionalism, which is, it's rare to get one of those letters, so it's worth calling out. Okay, a couple approvals I need from you, if you're so willing, and a notification. So first, the American Diabetes Association Tour de Cure is scheduled for Sunday, August 16th. This is an annual event now, and they need your approval for using the roads, and it would be contingent on both chiefs agreeing. And then the second property approval request is for the use of the Clark Room for a Landmark College meet and greet for incoming Massachusetts students and their families. The sponsor for this is Jeff from the COHS, and it'll be held August 22nd during the day. That is a organization looking to help people with needs, so we figured we'd bring it to you to see if that is something you would approve. So looking for your vote on both of those.
Okay.
Is there a motion in there?
Yes, there are.
Move to approve. Is it?
I'm at climate leaders.
Oh. I didn't
Yeah,
see it.
there's the diabetes ride right here.
Move to approve the use of town roadways as described in the submitted documentation included in the packet.
Second.
For the American, I should probably put, for the American Diabetes Association bike ride.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, we have our bike ride.
No, we're gonna do the,
And then there was a
I'll
second
use
one, yeah?
Landmark.
I don't know where it is.
I'm seeing a Landmark College
I
use.
have it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's on-
That's it.
That
That's
is it?
I'll
Yeah.
make it. Move to approve the use of the town hall application for Landmark College to host a meet and greet event on August 22nd, 2026 from 10:15 a.m. to 12:45 p.m.
Second.
Okay, great. All in favor, say aye. Any no votes? Okay.
All right, my last thing for you is there is a sign going up in the Rotary. If you want to see that, it does meet your qualifications. But my last thing for you is just to get you in a headspace for some upcoming discussions. First of all, marijuana. That'll be discussed at your next meeting. There has been public input, and I bet that there will be more as you get closer to that meeting. And the input's been both ways. All right, so this should be an interesting discussion, as it should be. The subsurface hydro geo mapping project also is something of interest to a lot of people, so you can expect the community to participate in that. We'll be sending you that report so that you can review it, and then there'll be a presentation on that as well. And then our ADA presentation, this is identified areas for improvement to comply with ADA. That's coming to you in addition to library, police, and DPW renovation updates, getting those boards in front of you to have a similar discussion as you did tonight. And then, of course, all of the boards and committees that you've committed to meeting with. So summer is officially over. It's time to get to work.
Okay.
That's my report.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Okay. We have done everything but liaison reports, is that right? Yes. Okay. Does anyone have any reports?
Super quick, I think Historical Commission wants to come in on the 25th. I don't know if Ben was gonna reach out to Gretchen, but we should put a slot in for them to discuss the demo
Okay.
review bylaw. And just, I met with Brad last week, the interim superintendent, and had a good introductory conversation with him. Nothing specifically to report, but what I did discuss with him were our town goals and town questions, specifically around, vocational, financial support / controls, and Highland. And so I just kind of,
Okay.
he's getting up to speed, but
Okay.
he said he's been talking with you, and it sounds like there's a good opportunity for regular communication. So hopefully that's the case.
Great. Any other liaison reports?
Retcom is moving forward with they've got their designs for parking for Diamond Park. So
Oh,
the
okay.
reviews, I think that piece is close to settled, maybe not 100% yet, but, and then they are working on the water at the dog park. And so
Oh.
I think they had somebody in to repair pipes. And then we're talking about replacing a well pump, because that was the recommendation. And I believe they voted on that in a special, like, quick meeting last week. So I imagine that it was maybe over what they voted, because they voted for, I think, like 6,000 or something. And so it might have been a little over. So, so that's that. And so that was CPC yesterday. It was a light meeting.
Okay.
So, they went over the grant application process in the
Okay.
meeting, and and we only had, I think, one other person that was not familiar with it,
Okay.
so.
Okay, we're running significantly behind schedule tonight. Thank you, everyone, for hanging on. Do we have any community input? Anyone on the line? Any community input? No.
Okay, then.
Make a motion, did we adjourn?
Exactly, yeah.
Second. I'll take that as your actual motion.
All in favor?
I'm jumping in on that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're good. Thank you all very much. We're